All right, guys, we are live. This is numbered as episode number 72 of Sports Cards Live, special New Year's Eve fireside chat, party, whatever you want to call it. We're just here to hang out because, hey, it's New Year's Eve and a bunch of people are kind of probably not hanging out with anyone else right now because that's just what's going on in 2020. So if you are watching right now, welcome to the show. We have Matthew Burdick, we have Corey, we have Joe, and we are just going to hang out. And we have Paul in the background. We're going to bring Paul in right now. Paul, welcome back. Can you hear us? Paul, can you
hear me?
We can hear you a little bit. Not too bad. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, I mean, first of all, thanks to those of you who have joined me tonight here. Again, as I've said to these guys backstage, don't really have an agenda set up, so we're just going to kind of hang out. And I do have a box of Upper Deck Series 1 that I got as a Secret Santa gift, so definitely going to open this. Can start doing that soon. Maybe hidden Alexis Lafreniere. Who knows? Native Card guys there. Happy New Year to you. Brian Gray, BG, Happy New Year to you. Feel free to join the show, guys. The post, the link to get in here is up in the Facebook group, and I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm going to put it in the comments actually as well. So let me do that right now. I'm going to put the screen in the comment, or going to put the link in the comment. There it should go. So if anybody, oh yeah, look at that. It posted to YouTube and to Twitter. Anyone wants to join, hit that and come on in. We'll admit you in. We got room for 10 people. That's about it. Just 10 people. So hockey guy Chris, welcome to the show. Billy's coming on the screen. Billy from Upper Deck. There he is. What's up, Billy?
Good morning.
Okay. Happy New Year to Terry Fortune. Okay, look at this. 6 guys in the room. I've never done this before. So a couple things, guys, that are in the room with me. I haven't heard any. I heard a hint of echo a few seconds ago, but just a hint. So if you are not really speaking, if you can mute yourself, that would probably be helpful. But if you are speaking, then take yourself off mute and try to keep mind to whether you're on mute or not. BG, Billy, are we allowed to share a screen? Yeah. Come on, Brian. Come on in. No problem. I told Billy we're not talking business here. We're having fun. We're just talking. We're just keeping it light tonight. Keeping it light. Yeah, welcome to the show. Good to see you, buddy. Austin, Happy New Year to you. So, we got Bobby Burrell's joining us. Bobby, welcome to the show. Okay, we got room for, what's that? 3, 6, 7. I think we got room for 1 or 2 or 3 more people. So whoever gets here first gets to come on. All right, look at this. Look at this room of misfits. I love it. 3 of you guys I've had on before. 3 of you guys I've never seen before. So that's fun. That's fun. So let's take a minute. Let's go around and just kind of, first of all, I want to say Happy New Year's to everybody. Happy New Year to all you guys on the screen. Happy New Year to everyone else who's watching. The only business we have is Ziggy Palfy, no doubt. You've seen me like 20 years ago. Happy New Year, Sean Kirby. So guys, what's going on? Who's got something to say? If you have something to say, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to say, put up your hand. Let me know who's got something to say. There we go. Corey, what is going on, Corey?
So there's a lot of jokes about Ziggy Palfy, and it's been a while, but I looked up his numbers because I kind of forgot about his career. Not so much, but he always put up consecutively good numbers after season after season after season. But he always got caught in the albatross of the Islanders. When Milbury was running the team, and so I think had he been maybe a Stanley Cup winner, I'm not saying a Hall of Famer, but his numbers are very solid. I would say, easily in terms of points per game, and I didn't do the calculations, but I'm assuming at least a top 10 points per game guy of the 90s.
He was a point getter for sure. I mean, I used to love picking him up in hockey pools. That's why I just picked up one of his cards actually coming in from ComC, and he was a guy that I remember Ziggy Palfy getting 4 points a game on a regular basis in the 90s. He was fast, good stick handler. But yeah, I think it's just a big joke going on Carlos's channel mostly with the meat talking about Ziggy Palfy. He's definitely not a Hall of Famer or somebody who you're going to really invest in. He's more of a running joke than anything else right now among some of the content creators. All right, cool. I'm just sorry. I've never seen this many people on the screen before, so I'm just looking around. So Matt Burdick, where are you out of, and what do you collect?
I'm from Medicine Hat, Alberta. I've been kind of got back into the game there last year, December, mainly into basketball.
Good timing. Wow.
And I also I got injured back in 2003 from work, so I bought some basketball, LeBron James rookie card. Just flukily got some of his cards and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and kind of held on to that for years and did my first PSA submittal this year, and it came back a 9, which I was pretty happy with.
Awesome.
How about you, Corey? You're wondering about the Islanders. Tell us, where are you out of, and what do you collect?
So I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and really I just got back into the hobby this year, actually. It was from watching the documentary Jack of All Trades about the junk wax era. It just looks so interesting, so I had to see it and talk it. When the pandemic started, I was at home, and one thing, Google search led to another. And I wanted, to get the Griffey card, so I did, and I'm back into it now. So I started just mostly buying baseball and hockey when I first got back into it, and collected some cards that I might have been unable to get as a kid. But now I'm more focused into basketball cards because I feel like they're the best long-term play. Just because of how global the sport is, it seems like everyone wants to be a basketball player or talk about basketball. It's always even the leading story, I'd say, in the urban centers of Canada. So that's where I'm at these days.
Yeah, I saw a guy. Someone posted on a thread in Instagram the other day about how he said, "I'm in Canada and there's you can't find a fan for anything but hockey up here." And I kind of replied, I said, "I don't know. There's lots of basketball fans, lots of Blue Jays fans, lots of Raptors fans, tons of NFL fans. You can go out to a shopping center any day of the week and see as many NFL jerseys and caps as you do hockey. I find, at least here in Calgary. So I was kind of like, hey, I hate when Canada gets kind of pigeonholed as being 100% hockey. We have fans up here. They're fans of everything. Let's keep going around the horn here. Billy, where are you at, and what do you collect, buddy? What do you do in the hobby?
Well, first of all, trust me, I hear from all you Canada people when Toronto won the championship. You definitely have some basketball fans in Canada too, because there was some major smack talking being made. But no, as some of you guys know, I work for Upper Deck, but I'm a collector too. I collect. I'm born and raised in Michigan. I live in California now for obvious reasons, but I even have my wings sweatshirt on. But I'd have my Tigers cap on, but they always get mad when I wear other sports paraphernalia whenever I am on anything. But no, I collect Detroit stuff. I've stayed in the. I don't collect as much as I used to, buying boxes and boxes. I'm more of a PC guy now, where I collect players and Detroit basketball, football, baseball. I also like UFC. I also like wrestling. I also like non-sports. But yeah, just a little bit of everything. I wish I got into the investing part, using it as like an investment as much, but I just collect what I like. And
Perfect.
I'm eating my summer sausage for celebrating New Year's Eve.
Right on. Happy New Year's, man. Happy New Year's. So, and thanks for joining. I know you've been a guest on the show a couple times. We'll get you back on here in the new year. Paul, let's go to you. Tell us a bit about what you're doing in the hobby, where you're out of, and what you collect.
Hey guys, Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, I'm up in Grand Prairie, Alberta, Imperial Gardens territory, with my man Kenny there. Really, I collected as a kid in the junk wax era. My dad, he did a lot of collecting, and I stopped doing it until one day I told a friend of mine I liked Ray Bourque, and he gave me this autographed card that had a piece of jersey in it. It was a Dominion Peerless Patches, and I traded him a case of beer for it. Yeah. And from there, I spent a lot of money, and I'm a hockey card collector. Like I say, Ray Bourque's my PC. Lots of different Oilers stuff, and I've really evolved. When I very first started, this friend that got me into it, he showed me the breaks, and the first break that I went in with him, he hit a Crosby 05-06 Ultimate 2 Ultimate Autos out of the break, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. You can make so much money doing this. So I was a rip and list for the first year or so before I realized, a guy's got to hold on to some of this stuff and take time to enjoy it. And so now, I really enjoy the hobby a lot more and take my time in it.
Right on. So before we go to you, Joe, and then you, Bobby, just kind of going through for the first time, let's just have a few comments come on the screen here. We bought 2. Happy New Year. May all your pack pulls be case hits. Thank you. And same to you. We got some anonymous Facebook users with the Happy New Year's. Thank you, guys. Islanders 5. That's probably Richie Barone, the mayor of Canada. We got Comsky Barry in the house. Good evening and Happy New Year to you, Barry. The Native Card Guy hits us with a $1.39 super sticker. Thank you, Native Card Guy. Really appreciate that. Oh, here we go. Little some stats on Ziggy Palffy. He was a Hall of Fame caliber player if he played enough. 713 points in 684 games, and that's a lot of points, right? The guy was. I used to love picking him in hockey pools in the mid '90s.
Dead Puck era.
Was that?
That's good numbers for the Dead Puck era.
Yeah. Native Card Guy. I started just getting Rem Pitlick cards and my native players. Very nice. Hey, man, go with what you like. Go with what means something to you all the time. Oscar Dad, Happy New Year's. Not sure where to look. Yeah, it's hard to know who's talking. It's not like in Zoom where you kind of light up a frame around you. So you just got to look for whoever's mouth is moving, whoever's lips are moving, I guess. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Corey Carr, welcome. Anyone have a good option for submitting PSA in Canada? I believe there's something called Platinum Promotions that does it out of the East. Platinum Promotions. Look them up online. I know they're working on some sort of new deal right now with PSA. Lee Haskins, Happy New Year's to you. Welcome to the show. Attaboy. Celebrate with the wife. I did too. We just had some Chinese food, and that was about it.
Wow.
Yeah. Billy makes the sets. Billy is one of the guys that makes the sets at Upper Deck for sure. Vintage Scotch and vintage cards. That sounds good. Austin Olson. Actually, it's a fair price since it was more of a promotional thing. Not sure what you guys are talking about, but that's okay. Happy New Year's to you, Charles. Welcome to the show. Jay Pringle, what's going on, buddy? Happy New Year to you. Just finished work and ready to relax with Sports Cars Live. And Jordan, that's his wife, Jordan. Right on. Slobs Baseball, good evening. Welcome to the show. Absolute. Hey, buddy. How are you, Mike? Good evening. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. PSA at $50 per card. Way too much now. It depends what your card's worth, I suppose, though, too, right? NCG. All right, guys. So, Joe, we're going around the horn. We're introducing what do you collect, kind of where are you out of. Tell us a bit about where you're at and what you collect, buddy.
Well, hey, everybody. Happy New Year, especially to you East Coasters, if you already experienced it. Yeah, I'm in Santa Cruz, California, and obviously we've done a few shows together, Jeremy, so appreciate you having us on. Collecting-wise, I'm probably, vintage baseball was my thing for many years, and then gradually coming back into the hobby, I got more into basketball, and then more recently, even more into basketball. So team-wise, I'm Warriors and A's, Oakland A's, and it's been a little bit of a rough go for the Warriors in the last year and a half. We do have a good rookie, so I'm excited about James Wiseman. And, lamenting Clay and, the diffusion of KD and the, always changing landscape of the NBA. So love talking about contemporary basketball and appreciate, wonderful content creators like Jeremy. So.
Thanks, man. That's so nice of you. Thank you. I got to say, I watched Wiseman play, and I think it was the first game of the season. He looked really good. Like, I thought, wow, this guy's the real deal for sure. So hopefully that gets you. And you collect cards wise. You collect like kind of. I don't want to say your. Tell us a bit about what you collect, because I mean we've had some conversations like what's on your hit list. What do you and if you're not kind of talking, can you mute yourselves, guys, please? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Jared. I mean, I'll look at a lot of things, and I think right now we're all focused on what's going on. I mean, I don't want to say we're all focused on that, but I mean, I think it's very compelling to be able to watch sports and collect at the same time, right? And we all had that experience back in whatever it was, April or May, I don't even know when sports were shut down, and all we had was our imaginations and a documentary, so yeah, I'm happy to be able to sort of pay attention to box scores. I know hockey's starting up soon, so I can only imagine if I was a hockey collector, I'd be like foaming at the mouth right now. But yeah, I like the connection between real life and collecting, and I'm also hugely nostalgic and hugely a vintage guy, and I'll always be looking at T206s and American Carmels and Gaudis just to see what's going on, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff out there. Bobby, you've been on the show a couple times already. You've been on Carlos's show, so let's hear. Tell us a little bit about where you're out of and what you're doing here in the hobby.
Well, happy New Year to everybody. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I'm a hobby historian, so not so much of a card collector, but I'll tell you everything about the cards. So mostly hockey, non-sports, a little bit of baseball. Not much in basketball or the other sports for the most part. I enjoy collecting more of the, merchandise type of items and documenting them. So, my collection is my inventory. My inventory is my collection. But I do have a base collection of Toronto Maple Leaf stuff, which is, I have a Leaf room. This is just the office. So I have lots of stuff sitting around. So, I wonder what the new year is going to bring. I couldn't predict what was going to happen in 2020, but what's going to happen in 2021? That's a mystery. We got a lot of diversity here, so I'd like to hear some opinions, what they might think is going to happen. I look forward to that.
Yeah, I want to do that. There's a couple things I want to kind of do tonight. I think it's interesting to, there's been so much content on Sports Cards Live, on other shows about 2020 and what happened and all the big events and all that. And I think we've kind of talked that, I don't want to say to death, because it is certainly interesting and very important, but I don't necessarily want to focus on, the PSA privatization, the last dance, COVID, all this stuff again. Let's look forward to 2021. Like you're saying, Bobby, kind of like, maybe what do you, from a personal perspective, what do you guys like looking to change about the way you approach the hobby, about the way you collect? Did you learn anything in 2020 that you're going to apply in 2021? Any predictions for what's going to happen in 2021 within the hobby? Anything at all? And if anybody, and I also want to let you guys know, like no one has to stay here the whole time. If you ever want to bust out and leave, you can, we do have there is a private chat available just to the people on the screen. So you can feel free to, if you got to let me know something, just put it in there. So I haven't, I know that you're going to leave in 10 minutes or that kind of thing. Please do that. But otherwise, I'd like to definitely hear about what you guys are going to change about your approach and your place in the hobby going forward into 2021. Another thing I want to do is I do have a box of Upper Deck Series 1 from this year that I received as a Secret Santa gift. So I want to open this up at some point. I'm going to wait a little bit before I do that, but I'll open this up as we're kind of going through some conversation. And we're going to bring Dave Kaplan on the screen right now and add Dave. Dave, welcome. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
We just finished kind of going around introducing everybody, kind of where you're from and what you do in the hobby. And I'll just mention, when you're not speaking, please mute yourself because we don't want any echo or any extra sounds. There's just so many of us. But introduce yourself quick. Where are you out of? And a little bit about what you're doing in the hobby. And then we're going to get into 2021 and what we're looking forward to, guys.
Hey, I'm Dave Kaplan. I live in Vancouver. I grew up in Winnipeg with Jeremy. And I was a long-time collector, and then I got out of it for a while, and now I'm back in the hobby, buying and selling stuff.
Right on. All right. So I'm going to just a couple of comments here. We have Seb Menard in the house. Happy New Year to you, Seb. I wish you never-ending high-price bubble and PSA 9 Lemieux for everyone. That's really nice of you. Very nice of you. Austin says, anyone else think the Lafreniere Young Guns are way overpriced? He was selling for double what McDavid's were when his card first came out. I mean, I think so. Yeah, I think so. But hey, if he delivers, then we'll, doesn't matter anymore. But it's just where the hobby's at right now, I believe. Happy New Year to you, Brian. Happy New Year, sir. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to keep going with all the comments, guys. I sort of apologize, but and yeah, Joe, it is a hobby box. I believe this is a hobby box. Billy, is that a hobby box? It's a hobby box. Definitely a hobby box. You can just give me a thumbs up too, Billy.
You made me mute myself. So yeah, it's a hobby box.
I know. I'm just bugging. It says hobby. I think it says hobby on. Yeah, it does. It says hobby right there, right above my finger. Anyway, so okay, well let's look forward, guys, into 2021. Who wants to go first? Who wants to tell me what they're going to do differently? Tell us, what they're going to do differently, what they learned. Oh, sorry. One of the other things I want to do tonight is there were a few posts in the YouTube group, in the Facebook group about some things people wanted to talk about. So I forget who mentioned them, but I know Corey, you had said a few things. Paul, you might have said something too. Matt, you may have. If there's any topic you guys want to talk about, feel free just to kind of put up your hand if you want to talk too, so I can just kind of go to you and we're not all talking over each other. But does anybody want to lead off with what they think 2021 is going to look like? All right, I saw Paul's hand first, so we'll go with you, Paul.
I guess I'll go first because I want to start, I guess, with the Tiger Woods documentary coming out. I started looking for his rookie cards only a couple of weeks ago, and it's impossible to find. There's no deals anymore, and just talking to a few people. Does anyone else like the way I feel is right now it's the hobby people driving the price up on those Tiger rookies, just with the expectation of once the documentary comes out, there's going to be a whole new market coming in, looking for those kind of the same with the Jordan documentary. What happened there? Does that make sense to people? Because I finally got a hold of a couple PSA 9s tonight, and so hopefully that's what happens.
Yeah, who's got a response to that? I mean, I think so, man. I think these documentaries are very helpful. Billy, what do you got to say?
I just hope they keep making documentaries of all of our spokesmen. That's all I've got to say. There's a Tiger. Bobby's showing us a Tiger Woods rookie card right now. I remember that card was, that card's, it is a dime a dozen. That is not a hard card to find. It never has been. You could have picked that up for $10-15 at any card show over the past 10 years. And I thought a PSA 10 graded copy was worth like $50-60. And now I haven't even looked, but they're well past $1,000 right now. It boggles the mind. It's nice to see, but it boggles the mind, right? So
Could have thought I would have that, right?
Yeah, exactly. But Paul, I think these documentaries are, especially the ones of the real, like you had Michael Jordan, and then there was another one after, I forget who it was, but it seems like you didn't hear much about it.
There was the Sosa McGuire documentary on the season of the home run season.
Yeah, didn't even hear about it except for a little bit in on Instagram sort of thing.
It was in the ESPN. It was a 30 for 30, so it was pretty big. But I think it drove McGuire a little bit. Didn't do that much for Sosa. And there was a Griffey Jr. documentary, which was only on like the MLB channel. It was pretty hard to find. But that card obviously went up, even I think without the documentary.
Yeah, well before that even. Yeah. So, but to Paul's point, I think that's probably what's driving it right now, and I think people are just looking for goats. People are goat hunting all over the place. So, is that good for you? Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Well, in response to Paul's question, where I find myself with Tiger, because of what Jeremy said earlier about, that was a $15 card. It's hard for me to drop 3 figures, much less 4, on something that 30 years ago was practically in like the $10 box. But autographs, I believe in goats and autographs, and if you can get a Tiger auto, I think you'll be doing real well.
Good stuff. All right, who else has something about 2021 that they're kind of or whatever, anything really, but you got something you want to talk about? Let's hear it. Otherwise, I can start opening packs of Upper Deck Series 1. All right, yeah, Corey, jump in, please.
So when I first came back into the hobby, I got caught up in a lot of hype videos, top 5, going up, those type of videos. And I found that made me lose money at the start. I've recouped those costs. They've gone up over time. And at the time, so that changed my mentality where I don't I fade top 5, essentially, meaning I don't buy those. And I look at it more long term instead of short term. So it really put me in a mindset that probably wasn't healthy or realistic, considering, you know, how long it takes for eBay, you know, deliveries to work out, and that sort of thing. So now I treat it like the stock market. So if something's going up, well, I'm not buying it, and I wait for the off season for it to go down and buy it. So I ride the wave sort of in reverse.
Sure.
And that's how I'm going to continue to treat it. And if I do look to sell, it'll be more at the peak when people are climbing on. So always the reverse. Same way with stocks. So it's a good life skill, really, that I learned from cards.
Yeah, it's like a contrarian approach, which will probably is working for you. You know, you mentioned you were getting hung up on these kind of top 5 videos and that kind of thing, and there's a whole area of, I'd say, YouTube of all the you know, content creators hyping up certain cards for, you know, with either ill intent or good intent, whatever it is. And it's I've always said to, when I've gotten into conversations about it, I've always kind of said to people I've been talking to, said, listen, a lot of new collectors are coming in and they're stumbling across some of the bigger YouTube channels that are hyping a lot of cards, which is it is what it is. It's just the way it's what they're seeing when they first come into the hobby. And what's going to happen is they're going to be misled. They're going to lose some money, and they're either going to look for better content or better advice, or they're going to leave altogether with a bad taste in their mouth, which I hope doesn't happen. So I guess my question for you, Corey, is like, why did you stick around if you found you were getting sort of bad advice right at the beginning? What made you stick around? Because that's something I think we need to tap into for other people out there who may be getting a bad taste in their mouth and want to leave.
Well, that's a good question. I was questioning it. Like, what am I doing here? This is insane. But it all comes down to my enjoyment of sports, and, you know, tapping into a childhood hobby is a very powerful thing, maybe even a drug. So, but I slowed down. I just slowed down for a bit, and, you know, I made my purchases more strategic, and it seems like, you know, I didn't see my, you know, cards drop down in value that much. And I think that's what kept me going, is just taking a couple week break, slow down, recoup. And yeah, a long-term strategy helped. And also, you know, still having like money left over was another one. I wasn't going into debt, for example, to buy these. So that was a big help. I suppose I'm lucky there.
Yeah. All right, cool. Anyone else here ever kind of get, I mean, I know a bunch of you haven't, but either Matt, Paul, guys I know kind of a little bit less. Did you ever kind of get, you know, romanced by some of these videos that were really hyping up certain cards and players? Matt, you got something on that? Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, we got hyped, me and my wife got hyped into like buying tons of retail boxes at higher prices. And in value-wise, we just never got what we ever wanted. So I think our big thing this year was to just buy the cards we want and not keep buying all these hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of retail boxes on a chance of a guy that I don't really collect. So I've just decided to just buy the stuff I want and hope that goes well, instead of wasting all this money on retail boxes than trying to sell all the cards out of the boxes.
Yeah. Billy's cringing as you're talking about spending less money on an open product. I love it. A couple comments from the crowd here. I'm just gonna say hello to a few people we got here. 19th Vintage, Happy New Year to you and welcome. Eric Hammerhawks. Eric's one of the co-hosts of the Center Ice Cardcast. Eric, Happy New Year to you. Slobs, I like this. Slobs says the videos didn't romance me, the cards did, and that's what you want to hear, right? You want to hear it be about the cards for sure. So good on you, Slobs. I like that. And yeah, Got Sports says you need to do your own research on these players for sure. For sure you do. But I think if you're going to a sport you don't know as much about, you might rely on who you're following, and if you trust the person you're seeing, for better or for worse, you know, you might just go in that direction. So. But Happy New Year to you, Got Sports Cards. Scott, welcome to you, and Happy New Year's. Austin Olson agrees with Matthew. And Big Daddy Cool, what player are you guys expecting to really break out this year, and what cards do you recommend for that player? That's a big question. I mean, that's really what everybody wants to know. So let's hey, Dave, hands up, guys, if you have anything to say, so I know who to call on, please. Dave, you're up.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've been looking at the World Juniors, I mean, Dylan Cousins is looking really good, and Perfetti's looking pretty good. Winnipeg Jets draft prospect, and Quentin Byfield had a big game the other day. I mean, the thing is, all these guys are. I mean, the names are sort of known already. I mean, well, if you watch the draft. So it's kind of hard to find like a diamond in the rough, because when those cards come out, they're going to be big dollar cards like right at the beginning. I mean, not as much as the Lafreniere, but they're not going to be cheap probably. So I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I like hearing a couple of the kind of young guys, the draft picks that Upper Deck will put into Series 2 for sure.
Yeah.
As long as they step on the ice here in January, which I'm sure a lot of people are. And I know Billy's celebrating that. As soon as I heard on the radio, this was a couple Fridays ago, that the Canadian provincial government sort of agreed to let this thing go, I phoned him up. I go, dude, did you hear the news? Like, no. I said, looks like hockey's happening. So I was pretty excited to fill in Billy about that. But hockey, Chris makes a comment. He says, Nathan MacKinnon, buy his rookie. So to Big Daddy Cool's original question, that was going to be my answer too. Nathan MacKinnon. I mean, he's no secret. Nathan MacKinnon, there's no secret about Nathan MacKinnon right now, right? Everybody knows he's top 3 player in the league, if not 1 or 2. To me, it's McDavid and MacKinnon up there for 1 and 2. But I think I just have a feeling McKinnon's going to have a big year on the ice. I don't want to hype up anything, but one of the more recent SP Authentic Future Watch auto rookies that I added to my collection was him. I bought him in, I think, late summertime, finally, after it tripled in price from when I started thinking about buying it. And I finally bit the bullet. So I love Nathan MacKinnon this season. I think they're going to win. I think they're the cup favorite right now, and before the season has even started. But I'm just really high on Nathan MacKinnon for performance wise, and I say performance wise to really separate it from his card wise. I'll let you guys conclude what on ice means for cards, but I think he's going to have a big season on the ice. Who else has something to add? Bobby?
Yeah, well, superstars don't come out every year. That's the problem. We're looking at, you look at Bobby Orr to Gretzky. That's like, how many years in between? And then you had Lemieux. Then we got to the 90s. And now I know the turnaround's a little faster, but are we looking at superstars every 3 to 5 years? Like, I mean, superstars, not just great players.
Right.
So I see everybody's trying to push the envelope of, oh, this guy's going to be big. And, I know we're all trying to put our money down and see what we're going to come up with. But really, superstars only come around so often. So, just don't get misled by those some of those videos that they have out there. I have listened to quite a few of them, and it's amazing. It's like they're telling you the stock market, and they know everything. So, anyways, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You had Gretzky, then you had Mario Lemieux, then you really didn't have another like generational superstar until Sidney Crosby and Lemieux. I mean, they were 20 years apart coming into the NHL. I mean, you had Joe Thornton come in. You had great players, don't get me wrong, but you didn't have anyone who follows that Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid. There's no one else after Connor McDavid. I mean, we were very hopeful on Austin Matthews in 2016. I think Pettersson in Vancouver is going to be a great player long-term, but is he generational? Probably not. But then I think you've got Alexis Lafreniere, who is kind of poised to be that next guy. Will he? We'll know in a couple of years, but we're not going to know by the end of January. We're not going to know by the end of the season here. We'll know it'll take a couple seasons, I think, to really know for sure, unless he comes out like Connor McDavid did in his first year before he got hurt and does light it up. So anyone who had a hand up there? No, I don't. Okay, Paul, what do you got, man?
One name that you guys never mentioned and maybe was part of all those hypes was Jack Hughes. Like, he's definitely he's not an A.O. Yakupov, but he's in New Jersey, so it's hard to keep your hobby value there, which is too bad. But he was one guy that was hyped up pretty big. But look at MacKinnon, how long it took him to come out of his shell. And I mean, coming from an Oilers fan, he should have won the Hart Trophy last year. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing what Jack Hughes can do this year.
The thing I think about when you say Jack Hughes is every year the first pick overall gets hyped up. Even Yakupov was hyped up that year. Taylor Hall, I remember it was a Tyler or Taylor, right? The Taylor Hall, Tyler Seguin year was hyped up. John Tavares was super hyped up. Steven Stamkos, super hyped up. All these, Jack Eichel, someone in the chat mentioned Jack Eichel. Brian Gray says he does. I do love me some Eichel. Yeah, for sure. And I think Eichel's another guy. That native card guy says Jack Eichel. Someone else mentioned him earlier. And sorry, guys, I'm not keeping my eyes totally on the comments here. It's a little bit tough. Oh, David G says Eichel poised to make another leap. I agree. I think Eichel now is Taylor Hall playing with him in Buffalo. I think that Eichel is another guy. I don't think he's going to make. I think McKinnon is going to go from like superstar to elite superstar, and I think Eichel's going to really become a superstar this year. Dave, you
left out Timu, Jeremy. You left out Timu.
Timu's my favorite. That number 8 jersey, that's a Timu Solani jersey. My all-time favorite player. I think he's the best ever play. But I'm not gonna project that onto all of you. Corey.
A lot of this is just the hype regarding these guys are mostly TSN or Sportsnet trying to create drama for whatever reason. Like, I remember the Eichel and McDavid year. For like half the year, they were trying to say, is it going to be Jack Eichel or Connor McDavid? It's like, come on. We all knew there was no way it wasn't Connor McDavid, but for whatever reason, they had to hammer that. It's just the same thing, Taylor or Tyler. That's just what media does. You have to ignore that noise and really do your own research and understand who's going to be good. Nail Yakupov, they said, yeah, he's going to be first overall. But I don't think that even they hyped him that hard, which is surprising given their track record of trying to drum up any type of competition for this number 1 overall. And at the end of the day, I mean, the only people that probably care, maybe the fans of those teams, are, the player himself. The whole thing is ridiculous. But generally, yeah, the first overall, of course, you want to investigate if he's actually going to be good and maybe invest. But a lot of the hype is nonsense.
And and you mentioned that you got to do your own research and kind of just ignore the hype, ignore the media hype. The problem I find with doing that research is that I'm not a hockey scout per se. I can watch because you have to actually see these players play to do your own research. There's one thing to be said for reading stats lines and summaries, but if you see a player play and how they dance around everybody else on the ice, you know that they're going to be really good, right? And so, the way I find the best way to do research is don't expect to hit a home run with a rookie in their rookie year, because Connor McDavid's, as Bobby was saying, they don't come around every year. They just don't. Like, no one else has done it since him, become as good as him. So, and even before him, no one as good as him, back to Sidney Crosby at this point, right? And Ovechkin even. So where I like to do my research is in the first season. The first and the second season, because as someone else said about McKinnon didn't really mature into the awesome player he is now for a few years. He was great right out of the gate, first overall pick, hyped up and all that. He was great right out of the gate, but he wasn't elite like he is now until a few years later. And so I think you got to kind of be, I've said it before, in hockey, it's not like basketball where a player can come out of the draft and dominate a game, dominate their team or the league even right out of high school or college. In hockey, you got to give players a couple of years. So anyone who's invested in Jack Hughes, I think it may pay off, but I don't think you're going to see huge returns this year. Billy, please.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious on where the hype exactly is coming from, because I know, I could be a homer because they're both with us, but I think Lafreniere and Byfield are going to be great prospects this year. But everyone seems to be thinking that Lafreniere is getting all this extra hype, and they're comparing his card to when McDavid's young gun came out and everything like that. And is the hype the people talking about the players, or is the hype the market right now? I mean, you're seeing every sport these guys. I was looking for the Tigers' #1 pick. I'm drawing a blank on his name, and I can never pronounce it. But he was the number one. He was the #1 pick of the Major League Baseball draft, and his cards are already like shot up. The guy hasn't played a single game in baseball, and it's already ridiculous amounts of money. So I think a lot of it has to do with the market. And if you're talking about people that, expecting big things, I said last year, and some people laughed at me, but the NBA draft last year, the guy that I really was interested in was Ja. And you saw him come out of the gate flying. And unfortunately, he got hurt. But I was really interested to see what his numbers were going to be compared to Williamson's numbers this year, because I think Ja's just in a great situation where he's at. And you can't buy. You can probably buy his stuff cheaper than you would expect, because everybody was buying Williamson stuff to start with. So I'm kind of interested to see what his stuff does now that he's in his second year. And then finally, Joe, I love another California person here. You got my favorite player on your team, Day. He's my boy, but no one's gonna feel sorry for the Warriors right now. You guys won a few chips. Maybe you could have shared some of the wealth there for a few years. We're not feeling too bad for you right now.
You're on mute, Joe. Don't forget you're on mute, guys. Again, if you're not talking, try and be on mute, and try to remember you're on mute. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, totally, Billy, you're absolutely right. Nobody's going to feel sorry for the Warriors and everything that happened and unfolded. Are you down south? Am I understanding, or where are you at in California?
I'm in Oceanside. I lived in Northridge for about 5 years. I got a job with Upper Deck, and I live about 5 miles north of the office at Upper Deck right now. So in Oceanside, is right next to Carlsbad. So,
and I heard. Well, I'm sorry. I heard you about the Pistons, so I'm sure you're down with the bad boys, right?
Oh, of course.
Right on. That was my team in the '80s, the Bad Boys. Growing up in Winnipeg, that was the TV that I would get on my little my little TV I had in my bedroom when I was a kid. Watch the Detroit news at night and watch the highlights from the Pistons. So big Isaiah Thomas fan back in those days.
Could I ask Billy his perspective on the Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan thing? I mean, you mentioned Jeremy, and I've never quite understood that. Do you have a perspective on that, Billy?
I think the Pistons did not treat Michael Jordan very well. They did not treat anybody well. But the one person that took it the hardest was Michael Jordan. And the one person that could do something about it was Michael Jordan. And he did. And then he became, like you saw in the documentary, his power. There's no reason Isaiah Thomas shouldn't have been on that dream team. I mean, one of the best point guards of all time. There are some other point guards that like that people rank ahead of him that say no. Magic Johnson says it all the time that Isaiah Thomas is one of the best point guards ever. But you have to live with the consequences of how you behave. And as you said, they were the bad boys. And you know what? If you piss off enough people, stuff's going to happen. And I think that's kind of what happened with him. And it doesn't help that Isaiah, after the fact, not that Michael Jordan, he's still getting better at owning a team, but it's not like Isaiah Thomas did himself any favors after basketball either. He hasn't done too much, so he's an easy target.
All right, one sec, Joe. Joe. I'll come back to you one sec, Joe. I just want to say, let's just welcome Colin to the screen, everybody. Colin, welcome. Quickly, Colin, just tell us where you are, if you don't mind.
I'm in Hamilton, Ontario.
Hamilton, Ontario, right on. Okay, I also want to remind everybody, when you're not talking, please put yourself on mute. And then when you are going to talk, put yourself on mute. If you're, calling, if you have something to say, just put up your hand and I'll call on you so we're not talking over each other. Okay, Joe, and then Corey wanted to jump in several minutes ago. If you still do, Corey, and we'll come to Dave after that. And I just want to welcome Darcy. Happy New Year to you, buddy, from Blind Bay, British Columbia. We've got also Roy G says aloha, everybody. Good, happy New Year, and aloha to you too, sir. And okay, so let's go back to you, Joe.
Aloha. I was just gonna underscore Billy's point and also just say, I'm sure Jordan didn't like losing. And we know that about Jordan. So, the Pistons did what they did. So that's all. Turn it over to Dave.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah,
very nice handoff. Go ahead, Dave.
No, just talking about basketball and like new product. I mean, it just seems crazy to me, some of the prices that we're seeing. Like looking at that most recent PWCC auction, there was 2 Luka of 99 cards, rookie cards, PSA 10s, that went for $68,000 and $70,000, which just seems insane for a 99 card. I mean, sure, it's rare and it's PSA 10, but I mean, come on, that's a lot of cabbage for those cards. I mean, and there's a lot of Luka rookies out there. Granted, there's only 99 of that one, but I think, in 2021, I think we have to see some softening of those prices. But just my opinion there.
That's what we have to wonder. What's going to happen in 2021? That's where I was watching another content creator today. He had a panel going. It was the comeback card investor. His name is Brad. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him. He had about 4 other guys on with him, guys that I've had on this show, and they just were discussing the hobby and stuff. And they did a bold prediction, sort of go around the horn. And that's kind of what I thought. Hey, that's a cool idea. Let's borrow it from Brad and kind of go around the horn with sort of like bold predictions. What you guys think can come up in the hobby in 2021? Does somebody have something to say to that? Somebody want to kick that off? Bobby, let's do it.
Yeah, I often wonder if at what point level people are at 68,000, what Dave was saying, the rookie card going for. Where is everybody in at that point? Like an average hobby guy, is he in at 10K or 20, 50, 70, 80? That's a lot of money to put on somebody who's really never showed himself to any great degree. So that's my question.
Yeah. The market, you know what? It's like you can't question the market anymore. The market is what it is for whatever reason. If it's the fractionals that are driving it, if it's the institutional money, the funds, if it's wealthy collectors, I don't know. I think it's a bit of all of those pieces. But yeah, if you're selling I think a lot of people are making money along the way, up to 60 grand. Like these cards trade hands regularly is my feel, and just from what I observe in the marketplace. So. But so based on that, Bobby, what do you think? Where do you think that leaves us going into 2021 as the months start to go by? Are you expecting the market to soften, these prices to come down or maintain or increase?
Yeah, well, I'm doing a price guide for vintage, so I can't really attest to too much. But I would go with Dave with what he said. We expect some softening. There has to be at a certain point because I don't know. After 20 grand, I'm long out. I don't know where everybody else in this panel is, but who's going to really venture off? And we're talking, it's a gamble trying to figure out who's going to be the next guy and what's the next price going to be. So we're tiering it up. It's going, 60, 70, 80,000, 90, 100,000. Like, man, that's a big, I don't know how many people are in the hobby doing that, or are we at the investor level after 50K? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But you think, like Dave said, you look at these 60, 70 grand for a card from 2 years ago. I'll come to you in a second, Colin. You look at that from a card from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 70 grand. You can buy the best of all card. You can buy Babe Ruths. You can buy Mickey Mantles. You can buy Wayne Gretzky's, Michael Jordan's, Walter Payton's, Bill Russell's, Will Chamberlain's. I mean, best, like high grade vintage rookies. Or you can buy a 3-year-old Panini Prism, whatever the parallel is called, and I'm not knocking the card, but is it really worth it?
I was thinking Tesla.
Or you can go that way too. But I mean, you can go that, but that's a whole other discussion, Bobby. That's a whole other discussion. Colin, you have something you want to jump in with?
Yeah. Like I'd rather buy 7 Wayne Gretzky PSA 7s than that's retired and he's got no chance of injury to hurt the value of his card, whereas all these basketball cards that are just insane prices, and like the guy that sprained his ankle the other day, like who knows, he might not play again.
So two questions, Colin. First one is, what do you think is going to happen in 2021 with these basketball prices? And the second thing is there the reason why you can buy one Luka or 7 PSA 7 Gretzky's? Is it because the basketball market is like 7 times the size of the hockey market? Like how important are the different sizes of the two markets? And then what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, obviously I don't think, like basketball is a lot more popular than hockey, like worldwide. And I think that, not a lot of people are going to be out there buying hockey cards, just like Tiger Woods. Like, for people to go out and buy his rookie card, if they're not interested in golf, right? Like if somebody is going to buy a Tiger Woods, it's strictly for the investment part of it. And so, a lot of people, they buy or collect or invest in what they like, and not necessarily like, I'm not a big basketball guy, but I've got a lot of basketball cards that I've picked up in collections that I really don't know what they are. And, but I'm definitely not going out and buying a $70,000 card. Even if I had the money to do it, I'd rather buy what I know instead of just buying what other people are saying I should buy.
Yeah. Okay, Corey, 1 sec, but take yourself off mute because I'm going to come right to you. I just want to put up a comment that just came in from Oscar Dad. He says, you could buy a handful of Michael Jordan Grail 90s inserts for a Luka out of 99. I know what I'm buying. And yeah, I'm right there with you. Oscar Dad, I'm buying the MJs too over the Luka, and it's like Colin said, he's not going to, Jordan's not going to go break his ankle and get knocked out, where Luka, hey, it can happen at any time for sure. Okay, Corey.
I think there's a lot of smart money in the hobby now compared to, say, a year ago when we had crazy surges. There's so many good educational resources out there now that the messages is being hammered to buy low, sell high. So I think there could be a bit of stabilization. Well, yes, maybe like less than a handful of guys will see their value increase, but it won't be ridiculous across every single player like it was last year. You could have had a 6th player on a team in the NBA, for example, and this card wouldn't went up. I don't think it'll be that crazy, but you still could see, the Lukas, assuming he'll have a good season, still shoot up high. But I think people will be a little more careful. You still could see, the Lukas.
Yeah, thank you.
Still shoot up high, but I think people will be a little more careful.
Sorry about that, Corey. I'm removing a meet because he's got. We could hear the sound from his other screen there, so I'll let him take care of that, and we'll bring him back. But Corey, I'm sorry if you could just sort of go back a few seconds and rewind.
So what I was saying is that I feel like people have become smarter. I mean, this is anecdotal. I don't do this for a living in terms of analyzing markets, but there's a lot of information out there to sell high, buy low sort of thing. And I think a lot of people are probably going to take that to heart. So if they do, it's going to be more stable, or people will know when to hold and not panic sell and that sort of thing. Outside of like Trae Young's or Luka Doncic, I think for the most part, things will go up in value if they're good, but it won't be as crazy as before. And you won't see 6 players on the 6th guy on an NBA team, for example, coming off the bench. His cards probably won't shoot up in value the way they would maybe last year, but there still will always be prospecting because, it's like penny stocks, nothing really to lose, a lot to gain.
Yeah, fair comments. Fair comments. For sure. Let's welcome Amit now. He fixed his issue. Amit, welcome to the screen. Wow, we've got 10 guys on. I don't know if it seems like there's room for 2 more, but I don't know if there is or isn't. So we'll see if anyone else wants to join. But we got a full house here. This is pretty awesome. I hope everybody out there watching is enjoying this. It's I'm trying to quarterback this discussion as best I can. So I thank everybody for muting themselves and unmuting themselves and all that. Who wants to go next with 2021 kind of what? Okay, Joe, jump in.
Just a quick comment to Corey. I absolutely agree. I think that's the direction it's going to trend. I'm not sure how quickly it's going to trend that way. And that's all I'll say.
Perfect. And Matt Burdick, you had something to say in the chat. Why don't you come on and just say it out loud, buddy?
I was just thinking here that people just love to gamble. They do it in sports in Vegas all the time. This is gambling to them. I don't really see it slowing down. I'm enjoying watching it, and I enjoy being in it right now. So,
All right. Yeah, I agree. People love to gamble, and the hobby is I mean, I think a lot of people came into the hobby from gambling when sports were canceled. I think that we got a lot of people that way. I just got a notification, guys, that someone else is trying to come in. We are maxed out. So if anybody who's on screen right now doesn't want, if you're ready to go, feel free. I'll thank you, and I can let someone else on. But at the same time, I'm not going to force anybody to leave. So you got here first. But I'll just put it out there. If you're ready to go, feel free. Who wants to go next on the 2021 discussion? Okay, I'm going to go then. If I don't see any hands, I'm going to go. So actually, before I go, why don't we take a second? I have this box I mentioned. I'm going to open up a pack or two of this right now as I talk about what I expect to see in 2021. And I haven't put a lot of thought into this, but and Barry throws up a comment. He says his biggest concern next year is product availability. So I think let's talk about next year, 2021. Amit, you just joined us late. Why don't you, can you bring yourself off of mute and just let us know where you are? And we're kind of doing that whole where I'm at sort of thing. And
in terms of where we are with the hobby versus where I want to go. Is that the direction?
Where you live, where you're located?
Oh, I'm in Toronto, Etobicoke. I'm fairly close to the expos. For those of you that used to go to the in-person expo, I live about 5 minutes from that place. So it's definitely been homegrown, Toronto-based, big Leaf fan. Been a thorn in Jeremy's side at many expos for a long time, and Billy as well. And some of you guys and Bobby I've met more recently, and I've known you before, but more recently, and then Colin as well. And the rest of you I've met over through the shows with Jeremy. But yeah, I'm home, born and raised Torontonian. I think you're on mute, Jeremy.
Thank you. I muted myself because I was unwrapping the box here. There I am telling people. Matt, I just got your message. You're gonna leave? Okay, man. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Good to meet you. Good to see you in person, and Happy New Year to you. All right, man. Take care. Okay, if the other person wants to try back, I can let someone else back in here. So okay, Amit, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, there we go. Jeremy, you are muted. Thank you, Chris. Amit is cool as hell. There you go, Amit. We got some love for Amit. Nice to see you, buddy, from Capital Baseball Cards. Okay. So, Amit, what do you think is going to happen in 2021? While you're talking, I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to open up a pack or two of this, and if I hit a hit, I'll show you guys on the screen. Go ahead, please, Amit.
If early indication of what's happened to her at the end of this year, I don't think we're slowing down for a while. We're seeing crazy spikes. I'm not talking about hockey first, I'm more basketball. I'm seeing insane things. I think you guys have been talking about it already, but I'll use ComC as an example. I've seen cards go from $30 to 2 weeks ago to $150 to $200 in a short time frame. So it's absolutely insane. I'm actually noticing a lot of correlation between fantasy sports and the hype machine, and that seems to blow up the cards as well. I don't see it slowing down. I just don't. It's just too good right now. You might as well enjoy it. The crash will be later, but I don't want it to crash for a while. Just keep going. They can leave hockey alone a little while. I'd like to keep it where it is so I can buy stuff, but soon that ship will sail too.
Yeah, no, for sure. You pulled the young gun in the first pack. It's the Vancouver Canucks. Oli Uo-Levy is the young gun in pack number one. But even better in pack number one was where did I put it? This player right here, the future captain of the Calgary Flames, Matthew Tkachuk. Everybody's favorite player, especially Oiler fans, love this guy. Love this guy. All right, we are going to bring Charles on with us now. Let's add Charles to the party. There he is. Charles, welcome. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I just decided to join. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining, man. Thank you. Just let us know where you're located, and then we'll and then please mute yourself again when you're not talking.
Yep, for sure. I'm in Mississauga, Ontario.
All right, so we have lots of guys that's not too far from where Amit is, nearby. All right, so Amit, from what you were saying, yeah, man. I mean, it's we talk about what happened in 2020, but it's the market just keeps on getting bigger. Like the prices keep on getting higher and higher from Michael Jordan rookies to Luka rookies to Wayne Gretzky rookies to Connor McDavid to Tiger Woods. Like it's just not stopping. And that feels very fragile to a lot of people, I think. And that's why a lot of people are calling for this correction next year. But as I've been thinking to myself, and I've said it a few times, you know, I think we're in uncharted territories. I don't think we can compare 2020 or where the hobby's at right now to any point of the past, any historical era of the hobby. And that's why I don't know that it's really possible to forecast or to predict accurately what's going to happen next year, because does it have new legs under it that it never had before? Dave, I see you kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's just you scratching your head.
Well, I was just kind of scratching my head, but I mean, I don't know. Is it 1991 or 1992? Because wasn't it 1993 when everything went down the toilet? But even then, if you had like a Bure rookie or like a Timu rookie or something that was quote unquote good, hot at the time of Yager, like that wasn't $1,000 card. That was like a $50 card, maybe $100 card for that Yager rookie. I don't know, but you know, so I mean, I guess one of the other things that I was just thinking about is with PSA and how they're so backed up and people submitting all their base cards, like, are we going to see like in 2021, like, is that going to stop happening a little bit because people just won't physically be able to do it? Are people going to move to CSG if they have any capacity to take people's cards? Because I think PSA, especially PSA, is driving a lot of these higher prices. So I don't know. And I mean, there's still obviously a lot of graded cards out there, but in terms of people taking, like right now, rushing their Gretzkys to get graded, like when are those going to come back? In like June or who knows when, right?
Yeah, that's been something I've been wondering, is the backlog at PSA and Beckett. Once they finally churn through it, are those pop reports going to go through the roof? And what's going to happen to cards that people are buying based on the pops that they've been showing during 2020? So that's definitely something to think about. Yeah. It's a really, really interesting time. I'm just going to show, I just got an NHL Worldwide Philip Grubauer. He will be your Stanley Cup winning goaltender in the 2021 season. I was asking Billy this a couple days ago. I said, so there's no, it's not the 2021 season. It's the 2021 season coming up, because there's no games in 2020 that are going to be part of the season. I said, so what are you guys going to do with the sets? So you going to call them 2021 or just like 20-21 or just 20 or just the 2021 season? And Billy, I mean, when we talked about this a couple of days ago, you said, well, probably just stick with the same. But have you thought any further about that at Upper Deck?
No, as far everything we've built, we've already built it for this coming up year. So it's going to have the same numbers and everything. The one thing that was interesting is there's certain sets that we sometimes put in order of like division and stuff like that. And we actually had the question come up, like, what divisions do you want us to put on these cards and who comes in it? Because all the divisions got switched around for this 1 year. And so that, talking about like questions that we haven't had to come up with, that was an interesting one, was talking about, you know, what divisions to put onto the cards, because it you know, you got your Canada division and your Central and East and West basically.
Yeah, so you guys have to figure that out. So I pulled from this pack I just opened. Here's the very sullen and dejected Connor McDavid base card, where it looks like he's coming off a big loss. I know it's tough to see with the small screens now. We got 10 guys on here, but pulled that. And then I got this Young Guns canvas Bowen Byram. Bowen Byram was in the pack as well. I think that's a decent player right there. So put that in the hits pile. All right, who wants to go next on 2021 predictions? Colin, what about you? I mean, you've been in the hobby a long time. You know, you kind of dabble in everything.
Yeah, I'm getting into a little bit of everything now. You know, I'm worried. What I'm worried about is, like, say the next expo, the next live show that you can do. Like, like last November, like we'll use Lemieux as an example. PSA 8, back in November was probably $500. And a lot of people could afford that. And you usually would sell them, no problem at the show. But now that he's $2,500 for a PSA 8, are you going to be able to sell those?
You are. I promise you.
It's.
Yeah.
Okay.
You will.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, you will. You'll sell them for sure, because that's what I used to have that same concern at the expo when Gretzky rookies started going up. And I thought, who's going to come to my booth and drop $2,000, $3,000 on these cards that, I'm into for 200, 500, whatever. I've had them for years, let's say. It doesn't matter. But, Amit who sets up beside me, it's like, I'm like, Amit, the show hasn't even started on the Friday and I've already hit my weekend target, and the show hasn't even opened yet because people are looking to invest. And I don't mean invest with the negative connotation invest. I mean, they're looking to they're invest electors, or they're investing in these cards because they want them, but they're also collecting them because they're a great Hall of Fame player. So anyway, I think, you'll sell every single Merrill Lemieux PSA 8 you have at the next expo. I firmly believe you will easily sell it. Anyone have anything to add or contradict or say to that before I go to a couple comments from the chat? Yeah, please, Corey.
Well, why would you want to sell anyway? Hold on, be patient. Unless you need that cash, hang on to that as long as you can, because maybe it might see waves, but generally it's going to go up. So if I don't want to sound like I'm preachy here, but if you don't need the money, keep it.
And I think that's a really fair comment. The one thing I'll say, that people could say back is, well, some guys, it's their business, it's inventory. They need to burn and churn to keep the machine moving is one thing. And then the other thing is that you kind of want to, I see Colin kind of nodding, but you also want to kind of balance things out, right? Like you almost want to take some profit, if you will, off the table, put some cash back in your pocket just to protect yourself. Paul, what do you want to add?
A great example was the Tiger Woods I bought today. Like I got the PSA 9s, and the guy he showed me, I think he had 8 or 9 of them. And I said, I feel like you're doing like I do with my stocks. You can take some profit, maybe sell half of it and hang on to the rest for a while. And he said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And, I'm jumping in hopefully mid upwards slope, but we'll see. I play the stocks, and I'm starting to learn to play the investing world of cards too. So, but yeah, it was 100%. He was taking some profit from probably $50 cards that he had.
Yeah. I think you see that in all investment vehicles, right? People take a bit of profit off the table, leave a bit of it in play, and I think that makes sense. I'm going to just do a couple comments here. Native Card Guy says, "Happy New Year from Winnipeg." Well, Happy New Year back to you too, sir. I think you might. I don't know if you're having some bubblies over there. You might be. You just threw another super chat at us, so thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Hockey's coming back with some weird format. Yeah, new divisions for sure. Chris says PSA is going to open the faucet on that fire that is the market once they start making those turnaround times shorter. That's going to be really interesting and telling, I think, very much so. I'm doing MNT because I want to support Canadian companies. So Native Card Guy, speaking of the Canadian grading company, MNT, out of somewhere in Ontario, I believe, that just hasn't really made a splash across the border. And I think they've got a bit of the market up here in Canada, but certainly they're not there's no Canadian company that comes close to competing with PSA and Beckett in the hobby's mind, at least. Native Card Guy says the cup is coming home to Canada, but never to Toronto. I'll dump everything and get out of the hobby if that happens. You feel pretty strongly about that. We've got lots of Leafs fans in the room, so no one take that personally. Hey, Legion, welcome to the show. Says nice Byron, Young Guns canvas. Thank you very much. Chris says good. Decent box so far. And Native Card Guy gets real crafty here. Again, thank you, Billy, and thank you, coworkers, for all the good work. Fire your packing company. Okay, thank you, Native Card Guy. PSA 9s were $1,400. Which card was Lawrence talking about here, guys? That's 5 minutes ago. I'm not sure what card that was. Carlos, welcome to the show. Invest, you say? Yes, of course. Yeah, we're all in trouble. Carlos is here. And Native Card Guy says, I'm holding all 4 of my Crosby Young Gun PSA 10s for the kids in 20 years. That's not a bad thing. Nope, I don't drink. Well, okay, good for you, buddy. Good for you. I'm glad to hear. Couple quick cards from my box. Who's got something to say next? I need to know who to go to next. Amit does. Okay, first of all, I hit a Dazzler's Blue. Artemi Panarin came out of the one of the packs. I've gone through one stack of packs so far. I also hit this just because we were talking about him, the Nathan McKinnon base card, just to see how, this he's just power on skates, that guy right there. And then this Predominance Patrick Kane, one of the best American-born players of all time, and maybe next to Brett Hull, the best goal scorer out of the U.S. Okay, Amit, what do you got? What do you got, buddy?
So there's a couple of comments made regarding, industry as a whole, where it may fail or whatnot. So I want to remind everyone one thing. In all of 2020, people were worried that the stock market was going to crash or going to fail. It did not. Right. So that's actually a pretty good indicator, I would say, of the strength in the economy. As you're looking at the way the stock market is performing versus the hobby market, you might find some correlation. I'm not a scientist. So I can't say it is or isn't. The other thing is, so the prices that people are paying for these cards, they are worth so much, it's almost impossible for them to fail at this point. They've invested so much that the cards have to stay where they are. Like, these guys are investing millions of dollars. They will do whatever they can in their power to make sure these cards stay at the value that they're maintained. So it's almost like, and it's true in big business, it's almost too big to fail, like the Shopifys, the Amazons. The economy as a whole can't afford for these guys to tank, right? So you have to look at it. There's a bit of that in our hobby too. So if 2020, like everyone kept saying that the stock market was going to crash because of whatever Trump was doing or the American economy is doing, it didn't. It actually flew. I'm heavily invested in the stock market from my RSPs. For those in the States, that's our 401k for retirement. And I had probably one of the best years because the blue chip market was insanely hot, right? So I'd like to see what the stock market is doing in 2021. And I have a fairly good indication if it's good and there's big dollars pushing this stuff, then this stuff is not going to fall. It's going to keep going.
Yeah, man. What you said at the beginning there about the guys that are buying these big cards, the Lucas for 70 grand. And before I just want to say hello to Carvin Chung. What up, buddy? Good to see you. Happy New Year. I think, these fractional ownership companies, I don't know if everybody saw or not, but the PSA 10 Topps Wayne Gretzky that sold by Heritage for $720,000 was bought by Rally, the fractional ownership company. So that card's about to get sliced down into a couple thousand pieces for anyone to go buy in on. So, but I think you're right, Amit. I think that the fractional companies, I think what's going to happen, because these guys have to eventually dispose of these cards to provide a return to their investors. Their investors, I don't think, are just going to want to trade shares on the exchange. They're going to want to sell the asset altogether and get their payout or their dividend, if you will. And who's going to buy the cards from the fractionals? Is it going to be billionaire collectors, all 5 of them? Or is it going to be other fractional companies and they're just going to trade cards back and forth over the years? I don't know. Does anyone have any theory on how that's going to play out? Paul?
I actually just the other night started looking at fractionals, and I understand how it works, but I don't, looking in the background how exactly it's going to work. But this card might never leave that company. I'm going to sell my one share of this card for $1,000. The next guy's he'll buy it for $1,000. 2 years later, he's going to sell it for $1,500, and it's just going to keep going. That card might never leave that fractional ownership company. It'll stay there, and the shares will keep trading hands. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good point. Dave, what do you think?
Just a little bit of a counterpoint to Amit's point. I mean, in terms of companies that trade on the stock market versus cards, I mean, companies have earnings, they have, they got profits. So, that's supporting their stock price. I mean, and the market did dip in March of this year when the pandemic hit, but it did then recover. But in terms of a guy like a hot rookie, a hot card like a Luka card, if he gets injured tomorrow, I don't think there's any way that card can maintain a $70,000 price point, because his career's, let's say he has a career-ending injury. Even if there's a lot of money invested in the card, people are no longer gonna want to buy it, so there will be no more demand for the card.
Yeah,
so
I
the
don't
price will fall.
I don't mean to speak for Amit, but I think that I think what, obviously a career-ending injury is going to kill the market on that player.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where there's so much risk. That's just a risk thing too. There's so much of it. And these guys that are putting 70 grand into a guy who's got 2 years under his belt, they have a high risk tolerance, much higher than I do. I was skeptical. Do I buy his Prism base PSA 10 2 years ago for $60 or $40? I think I paid for it. Well, I'm glad I did. It's $2,000 again now. But even then, it's like rookie cards are just risky, inherently risky. I think Joe had his hand up. Yeah, Joe.
Just when Amit was talking, I thought to myself about the new concept. It's not a new concept, but people are talking about it now, and it's the concept of the hard asset, which is something you can get in your hand, and it is concrete by nature, not a number on in a column or on a chart. And I think that's really compelling to people right now. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I've just brought up Native. I like this comment by Native Card Guy. He loves the hobby so much. Homeless 18 months ago, living in a tent, addicted, but breaks got me clean, and now cards saved my life. Like we're talking real life here, fellas. I know we are talking about $70,000 cards in the end of 2020 and going into 2021. But Joe and I were talking yesterday about or even earlier today, sorry, about what are we going to talk about tonight? It's like, let's talk about some real life stuff too. And I want to continue that discussion, but Native Card Guy here is saying cards saved my life. Like, it's funny because I got to say this quietly so no one can hear me outside, but cards are my life, there's my kids, of course, and there's my family and cards, and of course my career. But those are the three things in my life. And people always say to me, hey, how's it going? Of course I haven't talked to many people in a very long time. So, hey, what's going on? How's it going? It's well, work's fine. Hobby's going great. My kids are good. My kids are young enough. They don't really understand what's going on, that they're not out going to interact with other kids in that. So anyway, I just wanted to jump in on that for a second. Thank you for that comment, Native Card Guy. Somebody jumping in there? I don't know if Bobby.
Yeah, I often wonder, from what Amit was saying, I do believe it'll keep going up. I just wonder where the washout point is. I know Corey was talking about, he got in and, he was up and down, and, there's a lot of people like Corey out there. And, but where's the washout point for a lot of the other people? I still think it's going to drive new people in, but, how many people can hope to have a Luka rookie and a 9? At what point? No, the hopes are shot, and that's where the hobby divides between investor and collector, I think, and that's the washout point. So it'll only go to this point, but all the rest will be, the millionaires playing around, having fun. Like they said, market can't fail. Well, 2008, what they did with the housing market. Well, if you look at the card market, there's some similarities, vaguely, but I'm just saying. That's all.
No, fair. I want to throw up this comment from Oscar Dad. He says, I'm just worried the fractionals will buy up all these cards, unfortunately, at the detriment of the true collectors. And I saw a very similar comment earlier today somewhere. Does anyone have a take on that? Like if the fractionals are buying up all these big cards, driving up the prices, is it to the detriment of the true collectors? Does anyone have a take on that? Okay, Corey, please.
Maybe it's true, but I just don't care. Because I was a collector as a kid, but now I'm a collector/investor. And if I can't get access to it, I'll just move on to something else. While cards is a lot of fun, it's not the end of the world, but I suppose I can see how a true collector feels upset. But if you're a true collector, you're not going to have, I don't know, you won't have money to throw at all this stuff anyway, unless, you're a billionaire. So I don't know what the worry is. I think you'll always be able to collect what you want within reason.
I hear I hear what you're saying, and I've said that something very similar before, is that, there's always other cards to collect. There is something at every price point. If you can't afford a Luca Prism PSA 10 for $2,000 or a PSA 9 for whatever that is, you can maybe afford his Hoops card, and maybe you're just not going to have it graded. Maybe just buy a raw copy. You still own a rookie card of that player, and you're still invested in him to some extent. So, yeah. I like how you let off, though. I don't care. But what I like about that is not the flippantness of it, but just the reality. You're just being a realist, really, and just kind of getting in the lane that is opened up to you. So I think that there's something really good to be said there. Good comment. Anybody else have anything to add? Colin, please.
I think the way it's going now, though, like, are we not going to lose the younger collector that's trying to get into the hobby because they either can't get the product or they can't afford the product? Like, a lot of the older collectors that are starting to sell their collections, that they don't go to the shows anymore and buy old vintage cards. And so all these young collectors that can't afford the cards anymore because they're just too expensive. And, that's how the hobby disappears. It's like a golf course that doesn't have junior members. As soon as all the members start dying off, if you don't have junior members, the club won't be able to sustain itself. And it's the same thing is going to happen here. Like, you look at the expo, a lot of the people that go there are maybe looking for the autographs. Like, they bring all the athletes in for signing autographs. At the next show, who cares about the autographs now? Now they want the cards. So the shows, the future of the show could also be also on the line. I just think that it just can't keep going up. Like the prices of everything, because sooner or later nobody will be able to afford it.
Charles.
Yeah, we have Charles in the room to have a younger collector. But before, Charles, get ready to jump in and kind of explain your take on things. But before, and Dave, I'm going to get to you in a second too. But I want to just make a comment. We've always talked about kids in the hobby, and to me, we have to adjust what we define as a kid. I honestly, for the future of the hobby, I don't really care about kids that are between. Take this for what I care about kids. I don't care about having kids in the hobby that are between the age of like 6 and 12. We don't need those kids in the hobby yet. Even 6 and 15. I don't really care. It's nice we have Charles, who's 14 years old. That's an exception. It's wonderful. But I care more about the people that are from like 15, 16 years old up to 25, because that's where they can actually. There's so many kids in the hobby between 16 and 25 right now. They're all over the place, like online, and they're going to come to the card shows and they're going to be looking for the cards too. I am more, that's where I think we as a hobby need to focus on, is kind of taking care of those people, like welcoming them into the hobby, that age group, not being so worried about kids 6 to 15, 15 to 25. That's the future of the hobby, because kids that age, somehow, some way, there's a lot of them with a lot of money. And they're trading up, and they're being very resourceful, and they're being very entrepreneurial and trading up. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. So I don't know. It's a weird kind of talking about kids in the hobby. It's a weird sort of topic. It's something that I don't know is really going to be a problem moving forward. I think there's so many young people in the hobby right now. That's what I'm seeing. So Charles, can you give us the perspective? You're 14 years old. You're a bit of a unique case because you don't collect Luca. You collect hockey cards from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So, but talk to us a little bit about being a younger guy in the hobby.
So I think that you're right when you say that we need to be welcoming kids more into the hobby, especially at shows. Like if you see a kid walking around, and you have like a free pack of cards, whatever, just toss it at him, because that'll do a lot for a kid. That'll really want him to stay. And always look at traders, just like stuff like that. But more importantly, about the prices, I think to really, like help kids get in the hobby, you have a section full of like, like your big money cards, like cards that, like you want to sell and, like either make money on or just want to get out of your collection. And then another section is, like not necessarily low run cards, but like less expensive cards, just for the kids to look around at, just for them to shop around with. And I think that as they get older, as they start to have more income, then they're going to be able eventually to get those higher end cards, and that's how the hobby is going to go full circle.
Good. Yeah, I hear you. I want to bring up Dave. I think you're next, but before I get you, Native Card Guy brings up a really, here's a comment that makes me go back on what I just said. Like I'm going to pull almost a complete 180 here, guys. He says, as a Native kid, 10 to 15 years old, I target them because those kids that are so vulnerable to the gangs and drugs, drinking, this is why I have made it my mission to get the kids a hobby. So, I mean, right there, when I say I don't care, I'm going to do a complete 180 and say, yeah, but it's a different purpose. The purpose isn't to sustain the future of the hobby. The purpose is to help kids who are vulnerable, I think, and then there was a comment that Barry made, says Upper Deck is great at getting product in the hands of kids with Tim Hortons National Hockey Card Day and having lower price point products. And that's going to be, critical for a guy like Native Card Guy and the people that he's really trying to protect from gang stuff. And we're talking real life here, which I'm glad we're doing. So good comments, guys. And yeah, I never thought about getting kids involved to get them away from trouble. So I'm going to add that to my little to my method of thinking. So I thank you for opening my mind to that. Dave Kaplan, you want to jump in?
Yeah, no, just I guess getting back to the whole fractional thing that started this all off. I mean, I guess I'm not too concerned about that because these guys are buying cards like a 52 Topps Mantle or 53 Topps Mantle that are out of reach of the average collector anyway. So to me, that's not such a huge concern. I mean, there's always going to be cards that people can buy. And if you're an investor, if you just want to make money in the hobby, like you can make money in a down market and an up market. It just means, you'll be buying and selling at a higher price point or a lower price point. And I mean, there's, to me, the concern is with the high prices of some of the premium products like the Panini Prism. And I mean, like it's a couple grand for a box of that stuff. Versus, I mean, you can still get a box of Upper Deck hockey for, they were about 150 when they came out. And I mean, those Young Guns cards are always, well, not always, but, as the past has shown us, the Young Guns rookie is a card that people are always going to want, and that's going to, have a good return if the player is exceptional. So, I think there's always going to be a way for people to stay in the hobby and to make money in the hobby if they want to. But yeah, so I'm not too concerned about the fractional investors.
I think you're right. Yeah, I'll come to you in one sec, Billy. I think you're right, Dave, that they are buying up the biggest cards in the hobby, and I think that's the reason why it's important for everything else is because the trickle down effect. It's going to help prop everything else. It's going to bring everything else up, and that's important to some collectors who have big valuable collections. Let's say that's nice to know that the fractionals will kind of insulate you a little bit from too much of a downward spiral or a downward effect. So. Okay. Sorry, who had their hand up? I forget. But Billy. I think Billy's. Go ahead, Billy.
Oh, I just wanted to add to the kid thing, and hockey has been fortunate enough that our box prices are still somewhat affordable. I build sets like the Cup, and I build UD1 and UD2. But I'll tell you, one of the most important sets that I build, in my opinion, also. That gets dogged every year, but I find it a challenge to build every year is MVP hockey. It's one of the most affordable hockey products. It's a great product for starters. Yeah, the big whales and everything are going to look at it and kind of say, why would I buy this? And there's a lot of you won't see it on breakers or anything like that, but it's a great product that when mom goes into the shop and is looking for something to buy for their kid and they see a box of MVP for US maybe $40-50, Canada $60 or something, it's it's a great starting point for those kids. I think I mentioned when I was on here, like the first year I really started buying was 87. Don't let the brown in my hair fool you. There's some gray in the beard. I've been collecting for a while also, and those packs I would rake leaves and shovel driveways, and then run to the gas station or the 7-Eleven and go buy 2 or 3 packs of that stuff just because I could afford it for raking a yard. But MVP is just one of those products that doesn't get a lot of love from the big time investors, but is a great product for starters. You're going to get all your superstars. We try to throw in shiny inserts. I try to throw in some stuff, and there is some chase factor to it. A kid could pull a card worth $50 to $100 depending on the rarity. Lafreniere or the number 1 draft pick card is in there, so you have an opportunity for some big hits. But you talk about kids, we do our best to still, like, we have our little starter booklets too, and it's like a couple packs of UD1, and it comes with a little binder so they can learn how to collect, and we take pride in that for sure.
Well, I'll just say I think MVP is one of those products where it's one of the products where I recommend that for people who can't afford the cup and SPA and ice and all the more expensive stuff. It is a product for kids, let's say, but there's some really cool. I picked up a couple cards on ComC this week from MVP because you do those crazy parallels out of 3, the ones out of 9, the ones out of 20. The Stanley Cup edition, I think they're called. I just picked up a Nathan McKinnon number 29 of 100, his jersey number, just because it was jersey number, and I thought it was cool. So there's a lot of cool cards in MVP, and I like that what you guys at Upper Deck are doing is that you're not just making it like a total low end product. You are adding some chase element to it, and the cards are nice. I mean, they catch my eye on ComC every day when I'm scrolling through. So I think good job on that. Charles, please, don't forget you're on mute.
Yeah, so just adding on to the whole MVP discussion, I think that retail hockey is one of the best things like in the hobby, just because I have friends who don't collect hockey cards, but like before COVID, like I'll be over at their house and they have just a bin full of cards, and I'm like, well, I know that you did that, and you're like, yeah, like I opened some packs. So it's just like retail, you walk into Walmart, super easy to buy, makes it really simple, and I think that is just really good for the hobby, and especially for the kids. And National Card Day too. That's really good. Going to your LCS and getting a free pack, that's a really good feeling.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, Charles. And I agree. Those are good programs as well. So Carvin makes a comment. He says, I have concerns with fractionals. Jordan Hagedorn, Happy New Year to you. Hockey Guy says MVP is pretty good with the parallel set out of 3. Yeah, those are amazing. Like those out of 3s are awesome. And I think they're dark horses as well. Carvin's going to join us on screen, so we're going to bring him on as soon as he disappeared, but he'll be back, I think. Carvin, come on back. He says they overvalue cards, but those cards will run out and they will start investing to other products that will affect the masses. That's interesting. When he says he has issues or concerns with fractionals, his concern is that they're going to run out of the $1 million cards and they're going to have to start buying other cards, and maybe they'll put these baskets together and put a basket of 50 PSA 7 Wayne Gretzky's into an offering sort of thing. And well, hey, if you've got 5 PSA 7 Wayne Gretzky's, that's not the worst news out there, but it's a short-sighted and somewhat of a selfish position to take, I would say. Native Card Guy says, what I would like to do is have a company like Upper Deck to get at some of us native YouTubers to help us get to as many kids as we can. But my viewers have done a lot for me and my others, as I know. And I mean, we do know that Upper Deck is working with Name Cardinal, who also goes by Indigenous Rookie Cards on Instagram, a Native Card Guy. I'll direct your attention to Name and what he's doing. And Upper Deck is working on a program with Name in terms of Indigenous players. So I think you're going to be really pleased with that. And you can go back and check out the episode where we talked about it. And Chris Carlin from Upper Deck came on to actually announce this initiative. I forget the episode number. If anyone out there can find it for me and let him know, I'd greatly appreciate it. It's the one with, I think, Name and myself are on the front of it, and maybe Chris Carlin too. Carvin goes on to say, for example, what if they start buying all the wax, which is happening with investors? Yeah. Carvin, are you trying to get in here just without video? Is that what's going on? That might be what's going on. I'm going to bring on Carvin and maybe just want to speak. So I'm going to give the mic to Carvin for a second, everybody. Oh, here he is. He's now got video as well. Carvin, give me 1 second for a sec, if you don't mind. And then we'll bring you on. So before Carvin comes on, because he's going to have something to say, I'm just going to show a few hits from the box because Dave wanted me to open up some more packs, but I have been putting the hits aside. I only have this many packs left, guys. I've been opening them here. So I hit it. So I like these debut dates, Billy. I'll mention to you. I like a card that gives you some specific information, and these cards tell you when the player made their debut. It's an insert set, but not a tough one. But it just tells you that this guy Mario Ferraro made his debut October 2nd, 2019, Sharks versus Golden Knights. Like, that's cool. Hit a young, just a canvas base of Brent Burns, young gun of Kiefer Bellows, son of Brian Bellows. One of these portraits cards of Roman Josi, defenseman for the Nashville Predators. Jersey card, Billy, Detroit Red Wings, Abdelkader.
Oh, that's my boy too.
That's your boy. Young gun of Mikhail Burden, goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets. Young gun of Philip Broberg from the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know what position he plays, but oh no, does it not say the position on defense? I see the D in there. He's a defenseman. Nick Suzuki, young gun, not a young gun, but just a canvas. And a Kirill, I don't know how you say this guy's name, Kirill Ustamenko, goaltender for Philadelphia Flyers. And another debut dates of Ilya Samsonov, October 4th, Capitals versus Islanders. I like that debut dates thing. That's a cool, unique perspective. So still have a handful of cards to go. Okay, let's bring on Carvin, and someone else is trying to join as well. If any of you guys on screen, want to head off, feel free. In the meantime, whoever is trying to get in, we'll let you in a second. Carvin, welcome. How are you doing, pal?
I'm great. How's everyone doing? Happy New Year, everyone. I know it's already past New Year for you guys. I know Billy and I are on the West Coast, so we're still have an hour and a half away. So we're going to blow sing some songs, Billy. Yeah, actually, it's been a tough time for me because I got exposed to someone that actually contracted COVID, and I got to stay away from my family. So,
oh no,
yeah,
away from your young daughter.
Yeah, well, she wants to hug and kiss all the time, and I just can't, let her touch me for the time being. It's already been a week, so I'm just staying for another few more days, and should be good, quarantined. I think I had contact with them one day after they contracted it, so usually it's still incubating, so I think I'm in the clear, but knock on wood.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Any fireworks yet? Anybody shooting off fireworks?
I live in Vista, so I would hear the one in San Marcos, right, or the Vista Park here.
It's already been going on tonight, so
I don't know if there's any fireworks. It's usually my wife, so that's the fireworks I get for being so much into cards. So okay, so let's go back to the discussion about fractionals. Here's my concern long term. Obviously, when we talk about fractionals, they always start off the more expensive cards that we're talking about, the PSA 10 Jordans, the Gretzky's. However, there's not that many of those cards left over. So they're going to start diving down and doing more fractionals because they can't just do one card and say, hey, we're going to do a fractional on one card. They're going to say, what's the next card? What's the wax box? They're going to start going bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're going to get into the stuff that we all collect. So, for example, if we're buying up Crosby Young Guns or let's say cup cards, they're going to start getting into those cup cards. Now, all of a sudden, we are battling for those cards. Whether it's 30,000, 20,000, they may be doing it, because for any type of fund to grow, they have to expand. Like Rally has to expand. They have to have more fractional shares, more items. Typically, you want to go with a high-end item, but high-end item could be a case of Prism basketball wax right now. I mean, that $4,000 a box, that's a $50,000 case now. Why is that $4,200 a box? Because for a while, Zion was going down, Ja was going down. Why is it going up? It's going down. It's going up because the supply is running out. Chances are it's probably a lot of investors buying it. Now, as a result, because we're back to basketball, the cards are going back up. But once again, Zion's not playing that well. Luka's not playing that well. And also Ja's not playing, or just got injured, right? He was playing well and he got injured. And Trey wasn't doing that well. And Trey, have you seen what Trey cards are going for? The 18-19 wax right now in Prism is going close to $8,000 a box now. Almost talking about $100,000 case. So that's what I'm talking about. Like it does affect it. Now, my bigger concern is it's like stock market. When the stocks get overvalued, what happens? No one buys them. Same thing here. If the wax gets overvalued, if the cards get overvalued, there is no buyer. So that what happens? It's not a real true market then, because as we look at trading cards, it's really like cryptocurrency in a sense. Now, cryptocurrency is different now because the government has finally regulated it. It is traded on the stock market, but when it wasn't, the value is only as much as a collector or a secondary market person is willing to pay. That's what the value is. So if there is no secondary person buying the product, automatically everything starts going down, right, in our marketplace. So I'm just looking at more macro economics in a sense, like the stock market. Like we saw how BRIX went to what? BRIX was like $8,000 a share, I think, and then no one was buying it, and then it just crashed, and no one was buying it, and it kept on crashing, and it kept on crashing. So that's a potential that could happen because if it's a false marketplace, then BRIX went down and basically it wasn't even worth the paper the certificate was on when they realized that there was no gold in Indonesia. I don't know. I mean, sorry, Charles, you're too young to even know what BRIX is. I'm sure Corey's probably too young to know what BRIX, but I think Dave and Bobby definitely knows about BRIX stocks. Same thing with in the U.S. was that
and Enron.
Enron, yeah, same thing. So when things get overvalued, we have to be careful. We can't expect it to be even more hot, right? In stocks, we have something called the PE ratios we can measure up on. Unfortunately, in trading cards, we don't have those analytics yet, right? And I'm not saying that the market's going to drop. Obviously, I think more and more as we see more of these investors like Nat Turner buying PSA, potentially he may buy something else. That's what someone had mentioned. That's a rumor. There could be other investors buying funds, creating funds. Then, like even over here in the U.S., I just have I think you guys all know that I work for a distribution company, right? And even here, some of the media companies, their owners have now opened card stores and doing a ton of money every month. So a ton of sales. I mean, guys like Dan Fleshman, I don't know if you're aware of him. He's like the Gary Vee on the West Coast. He has a ton of followers. He owns a media company. Another company just opened up on Beverly Hills. The owner his name is Adil Shams. He's responsible for the LA scene of sneakerheads, and he owns 3 sneaker shops, and now he's opened up a card shop. So he has 1 million subs on YouTube. He's now promoting sports cards. He has a share of sports cards, and now he's getting more involved. So those are the type of people that are coming into the business. So the more that we have those type of people invested into the business and have a business, it protects our hobby, as we say. But I'm just concerned. Like when I saw someone open a pack of card or open a card reveal, and they got a Trae Young Gold PSA 9. They said right now that's valued at $25,000 for a Trae Young. So let's just give that for a thought, right? It's Donruss Optics Trae Young out of 10, not even the Prism card. They feel that's valued at $25,000. Let's go back to 10 years ago. The LeBron James Exquisite Rookie wasn't even at $25,000. In fact, 7 years ago, it wasn't at $25,000. It was at $15,000, that card. So I just look at it and I was like, wow, I just can't believe where the market stands today.
Yeah. Lots of points there, Carvin. Lots of points there. Some of it over my head as I'm scanning comments as well. But does anyone else have anything, any kind of...
I like what Dave says here, Tulip Mania. And I have read up on Tulip Mania. Is that you, Dave, as in the video? Yeah. If you guys want to look at Tulip Mania, that's something that happened in the 1600s. And it's crazy. So it's just something of nature to look. I mean, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm not saying the market's going to come crumbling down. I think there's still a lot of opportunities in the marketplace. But I'm just saying here, you got to assess the risk, right? If you're buying because you're collecting, that's one aspect. Like Jeremy, you're a big collector, more so than you are an investor. Obviously, we all are invested in our cards. But if you're a collector, you're not going to let go of a card no matter how much it drops. Then you're going to be fine. If you're holding your cards like a blue chip stock, even if it drops 50% like 2008, you're still going to hold on to it for the value to go back up. But if you're all vested in and you have a lot of money on the line with Lucas and Trays and multiples, then you can get hurt. So that's all I'm saying is just assessing your position. Now, I'll be completely honest. I do not even practice what I say. So I'm just as invested as you guys are. I'm just as crazy as you guys are, right? And unfortunately, in this marketplace of how strong it is, it seems like there's more and more and more opportunities to sink your money in. And the more that the old G's in the business, like myself, that, you know, I sold like skids of Pokemon first edition fall. So I sold skids of Jungle back in Toronto back in the day, like at $35, $40 a box. And now they're worth like 60,000. You're like, wow, like I'd be worth $1 billion. But had I not sold all those skids, then I'd be sitting on a ton of skids for how many years? For 20 years. And I wouldn't have any money left. I would be broke, right? So you have to run if you're running a business, you have to run your business. The key is turnover always. But
yes, inventory turnover for sure.
I raise my hand, so I know I can raise my hand next time, just like this.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, I can. Where is it? Where is your hand?
So if I raise my hand, then that's how you moderate it. Okay,
that's how I'm doing with this many people. That's how I'm doing it. I saw Dave's hand go up. So Dave, let's go to you. And Dave is going to show us a very off-centered Wayne Gretzky rookie card. Yeah, that thing's right off the side of the card there. If everybody can see it, Dave, you are on mute, Dave. In case you are talking at the same time, you're showing us that card.
Miscut.
I'm unmuted now. It's well, I'll show you the back. Whoops.
Who just left? I can't even tell who just left.
It's pretty. I don't know. I mean, it would definitely be OC. I don't know.
If you're completely missing border on the left-hand side there in the front, then it's going to be an MC. But if you've got a little bit of border left, it's going to be OC, I believe.
I think there's a little bit. There's a little bit of blue.
That is blue on that. That is pretty off-centered for sure. That's cool. Always nice to see a Gretzky rookie. I hit a printing plate in that box of Jeff Skinner from the Magenta printing plate. And then I did hit an Alexis Lafreniere Young Guns checklist. Psych y'all out there, didn't I? Young Guns checklist, everybody. Alexis Lafreniere still probably has some value. Good hit. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, buddy. Corey, let's go to you.
More regarding Lafreniere. I saw someone on a Facebook group. They were looking to sell 2 Lafreniere's Young Guns, but they put it in a top loader, but they didn't have it in a penny sleeve. So everyone pointed that out. Oh, it was pretty sad to see. Like, I think he said he was new to the hobby, but it was tough to see that. Poor guy. That's learning the hard way.
Yeah, that's but hey, at least hopefully he did learn and won't make that mistake again. No one ever wants to see that for sure. For sure. David G has a comment. He says, when will cards be regulated? Oh boy. I think we're a long ways away. I heard some discussion today about it in terms of fractionals, and fractionals are regulated. I don't know how strong they are, but there is regulation there. Bobby, you had something to jump in on?
Yeah, when the hobby gets regulated, that's when everything will get regulated. You can't regulate anything, really. It's impossible, I believe.
I think that what they can regulate are what can get regulated are the fractional ownership account. Anytime you're issuing a security or you're taking money for an investment, there is regulation, and there is regulation the fractionals are subject to certain SEC regulations. I don't know exactly which ones, but they don't just have like carte blanche to go there and screw people over. So,
but nothing in the hobby. Regulation.
No,
you can't.
No. How can you regulate what can you do? Who's the regulator? Who's going to say what are they regulating even? What are you regulating? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe your show gets so big, you'll be the regulator.
Well, I have a hot take. I have a hot take on 2021, and my hot take for 2020, maybe not 2021, 2021, 22, whenever it is. And whenever it is that the licenses come up for renewal, whether it's hockey, basketball, baseball, football, for so long, for a while now, we've seen the single license issue, and people have been very comfortable that that's just the way it is. Of course, many people want competition, but it's been a single license environment we've been in. However, there's a big change. There's something major has changed now, and that is the market is blown up. And the leagues and the PAs are not blind to it, And I think if we were ever gonna see competition come into the space, this is the year that could change that and bring that about, because the card market is so big and lucrative now that the people who can make money on it, being the leagues and the players, might say, hey, why are we sticking with one company? Why don't we expand out and add more? I mean, I can see that happening.
That would help the hobby exponentially.
Who wants to speak to that? Carvin?
All right. So here's I'll tell you the pros and cons, obviously, with having exclusive.
Well, Carv, before you talk about pros and cons,
okay,
let's just keep it to, if you don't mind, let's keep it to, is this the year that we could see that change? Because pros and cons, I think we have an idea, unless you have a couple you want to throw out there just for context.
So a couple of things then for right now. Obviously, there's a contract in place. I mean, Billy's not there, but Billy can attest to it. There's a contract in place. When the contract negotiations come up, that's when they can say, hey, we're going to look at different options, and we could split up the licensee to multiple licensees. But if you're looking at the leagues right now, every single item is an exclusive. I'm not talking about trading cards. Trading cards are exclusive, but so are jerseys. So memorabilia in terms of jerseys that they're selling, it's going through Fanatics, or it's Nike, or it's Adidas for hockey. Video games are pretty much almost like an exclusive. One company has a huge advantage over the other one. So in hockey, it's Madden, in basketball, it's 2K. And then on top of it, even television, it's now going to exclusives or split exclusives. So I think part of the reason is that it's easier for the leagues to manage when there's an exclusive versus two different companies. Because one of the things that, even when I was at Upper Deck, is that, let's say the leagues want you to invest into a TV commercial. Well, if there's two different companies, your TV commercial actually helps influence your competition's business too. This way, whatever you invest marketing, it goes directly back into your pocket. And right now, you're seeing huge amount of marketing dollars, whether it's advertising, whether it's on the internet, or whether it's TV advertisements or boards on the stadiums and all that. So they're spending a lot more money on marketing, and those are true dollars they're spending. Versus in the past, if I spend it, if Upper Deck spends it, then Panini gets the benefit of it, or vice versa. There's two different licensees. But this way, whatever Upper Deck spends, they gain from it, for their products.
Yeah, I know. Great points. Makes a lot of sense. And I wasn't really, didn't have a lot of information on other product offerings versus just sports cards. But Carvin, my question to you back is, I know the video game market is huge, but you did mention other licensees, the main and then the sub licenses, or whatever, however you put it. Could you see it happening in sports cards too? Because these things are getting lucrative. I mean, Panini now sells their own wax for thousands of dollars a box instead of buying it for $150 at the LCS. Would the leagues? I mean, I understand dealing with one licensee is a lot easier administratively, for sure. Your point about, if Upper Deck invests in a commercial, it benefits the Panini or whoever else might have a license. I hear that, but I mean, so when Nissan advertises a car, does it help Toyota and Honda? I mean, everyone's shopping around the same cars. Like, I don't know that I understand it, and that's a benefit for the sole licensee, but I don't think that's a reason to not have competition. And there are anti-competitive laws out there too. And if this thing, we talked about regulation earlier, if the hobby does reach the attention of whoever government official would, the anti-competition people, would they say, hey, enough is enough. You guys have to open this up. And I don't care about your administration. You have to open it up to at least one or two more licensees. I don't know, open-ended kind of comments there. That's what went through my mind. Anyone have anything to say to that? Or Colin, what do you have to say?
Yeah, so like if Upper Deck, if they've got like what do they have for hockey? Maybe 15 different products. If they opened it up and Brian Gray from Leaf, he gets into the hockey and he opens up 15 different products, doesn't that just make everything like the release dates are going to be on top of each other, and it's just going to cause a lot of friction, as well as what do I collect? I've got 30 different things to get now. You know, like the hobbyist he's gonna lose track of what's going on.
Yeah, I hear you. I think people gave up on collecting everything a while ago, but more. It's almost like, I think what you're saying is like option overload, right? Like, what are you going to collect? Well, yeah, it's an interesting point.
If it's an investment point, and there's something that's valuable from every different box, then people are gonna collect it. Like, the investor is gonna go after everything, you would think.
I think they'll pick and choose, just like they do within the upper deck offering assortment of offerings. The investors pick, and even the high end collectors. Let's say, like, some guys go for SP Authentic Future Watch auto patches. Some guys go for the Cup rookie card. Some guys go for the Ultimate autograph out of 99. And then there's people that just do Young Guns because they're simple and they're easy, and it's the mainstream rookie card kind of thing. I think people will still find what they like, and they'll gravitate towards what they like, and maybe we'll see the collectors coming out of people a bit more. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Anyone else have anything to add to that, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I might be coming in from left field here, but I think we're living in the moment right now of the card boom of 2020, and I think the card companies are going to respond to our elevated interest, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's a revenue resource, given that there's not walk-up ticket gates going on for most professional sports right now, and I think they would be dumb not to look at how they could capitalize on it, and I think that's going to create some innovation. I think they'll be thinking about how to take it to the next level, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Who else had something? Who else? Was someone else going to jump in there? Billy's frozen on us. Dave?
Yeah, no, I know we've been talking a lot about sports in this show, but comics has also had a huge year, and I mean, I think all collectibles have had a huge year, and also non-sports cards have had a huge year. In terms of in terms of sports, cards are normally driven by player performance, and then there's other external market factors that are driving prices up. But with comics, a lot of stuff has been happening, like with Marvel, new movies come out, comics just go through the roof. And I mean, that's also flowing through to non-sports cards, like Marvel cards, which traditionally, as a sports collector, I'd always kind of, that was like, oh, well, those things aren't worth anything. But, a lot of these older Marvel cards with autographs have just gone through the roof. So it's another thing to think about, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got AM in the chat says that Colin's right. All four sports flooded with product. It has to tank eventually. I mean, I think there's some insulation in place from the hobby tanking, and I certainly hope there is. But hey, you know what? I thought the market was going to tank in March, and the complete opposite happened. So
they won't have the shelf space. They won't have the shelf space to put all the boxes, all this new product. We're like the card store that I go to. You can't even see the floor from boxes of stuff, just because there's not enough room, and there's not enough stores now. If that was the case, if it's,
Yeah. Interesting take. Yeah. Billy, and then Carvin.
Am I still frozen?
A little bit. You're on and off.
Oh, go ahead, Carvin. I'll jump in on something.
We can hear you though, Billy. We can hear you.
Okay. First of all, love the non-sports card comment, because I've started working on a number of non-sports sets. I'd love for you to go off on the limb one day, Jeremy, and just do a non-sports card show for an episode on your non-normal schedule. But
sponsored by Upper Deck.
Yeah, exactly. Shoot, that non-sports question, I almost forgot what the other stuff I was going to say. I will say that on the licensing, I can't really comment on that sort of thing. But the listening to the market, I think you've kind of already seen some of that, and I know Jeremy's most anticipated product coming out this year. We see the hype for some of the old cards. We're putting out a Metal Universe this year, and there's a number of other sets that I can't talk about yet that are coming out. And a lot of that is based off of listening to people, reading forums and stuff. I know I constantly say this. I know we're not very active on the forums. That's on purpose, but I'm on it every day. I wake up and I'm on Hobby Insider, I'm on Blowout, I'm on Sports Card Forum, I'm watching videos and all that fun stuff. And we're listening to what people are saying. And you've got some people that are just talking, and then you have some other people that bring up some very good points. So I think you'll see this year, we're not just making more. We are intelligently building products that we feel the consumer is going to want. Metal Universe, Jeremy.
Yeah, man. Well, and if anybody out there can secure a case for me, please let me know. I'm trying to find case. I want that product. I cannot wait for it. I just know everyone's having fun watching Colin walk around his house there. Colin, there was a little bit of in the private chat, a little bit of everyone's watching Colin time. It's pretty funny. I want to bring up thanks to that, Billy Carvin. Before we get you, I just want to bring up Native Card Guy's comment here. He says, I have subscribers from buying $1 million in products to $30 blasters, and it's the same comments that distribution is gouging customers. I mean, I don't know much about that, but I don't think that's we do have someone. Carvin does work for a US distributor right now, so I think Native Card Guy is coming at it from a Canadian perspective. Carvin, can you shed any light on that for us, though, considering you do work for a distribution company?
Sure, I can help out with that. So obviously that's the consensus and that's the perception, and a lot of retailers are angrier than ever at distributors, and I have those discussions with some of the customers I deal with.
Well, Happy New Year where I live, by the way, right now. Happy New Year right now.
Okay, Happy New Year, guys.
Sorry to interrupt you, Carl.
So one of the aspects of it is that everyone can't get enough, and there's not enough supply. I mean, you can look at Upper Deck products. We're not getting enough Upper Deck products for all the U.S. market to want that product. And the tough part is because there's not enough supply. Obviously, that's why everyone is looking at, wow, what is everyone charging? They're going, instead of undercutting each other, they're all like, well, let's try to match them or wait a little bit longer. So I know that for a fact. Even retailers are raising their prices as we speak when they look at on the online retailers. That's what they're basing it on. So the online retailers are almost setting up the price point. But the problem is that everyone, like typically, let's say 3 years ago, everyone got 3 cases. Well, right now, there's a lot more customers than was 3 years ago. I can tell you right now, on a daily basis, we get over 100 applications for our distribution company all over the world. And it's not just a US or Canada thing. It's Australia is booming. Britain is booming. I have customers in Thailand, Vietnam, Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, on and on. It's just growing everywhere, right? Not in the sense of hockey, but hockey is growing, and this is why it's growing. And I'll give you the reasons why. The reason why is that because basketball is the #1 most global sport. #2 is soccer. Both those sports, where you're paying $4,000 for a box of cards now, they're looking, wow, Marvel is only $1,000 for a case of cards, and I'm paying $3,000 for a box of cards. Now I get to have fun with Marvel. Now you bring in the equation, hockey, UD1 hockey. Wow, it's $1,000 US for a case. This is fun. At a $3,000 per box price point, it's almost like pressure. I have to hit a Zion Silver just to break even. That type of, the return I need to get in that box. Obviously, a lot of it is spurred by breaking online, and obviously team breaks, group breakers, all that aspect is helping the consumption of these products. But what's happening is that there's just not enough products for the amount of customers that are coming in, and new customers can't even get to buy it at everything's allocated. What I will say is that if you talk to anybody here is a card shop owner. Anyone's a card shop owner? No. Okay, so I talked to a few card shop owners. I said, so let me just ask you a question here. For what you get in terms of what you're paying on a wholesale price and what you're getting on a retail, How much profit are you making per case versus 5 or 6 cases 3 years ago? The comment is that I'm making more in that one case than the 5 or 6 cases I had 3 years ago. So I go, so based on the volume that you're getting, you're making more profits now than ever. Yes. I go, so let's say if you got for 5 or 6 cases, would that mean that the price point be a lot lower because there's a lot more supply out there, and you would actually make the same amount of profit moving 5 or 6 cases now? They said, you know what? I can tell you this much. I want you to give me 5 cases. I don't want you to give me to everyone else 5 cases, just me. So that's the expectation that all the stores have. Does that help? In some of the analogies I'm speaking through the.
Yeah, it's an interesting explanation to get an understanding.
Right. So if every store was getting 5 or 6 cases, the market might not be where it is. There's a lot more supply for the demand then.
Okay. Yeah. Bobby, please, and then we'll go to Joe.
Oh, sorry.
Just to fortify Calvin's response, I believe that I think a lot of people are running around doing the penny stock. I think I'm going to try my luck with buying, or speculating on certain smaller, cheaper products. And I think that's probably added in there too, because I know everyone's running around trying to find a product, and everyone's trying to run around and see what the next new thing that's going to come, because everything keeps popping up that's new. Now it's the non-sports. Now it's what's next, So I just wanted to add that to that. That's what I believe.
Yeah, no, fair enough, for sure. Sorry, who had their hand up too? I said somebody's name there. Joe.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to appreciate Carvin. Thanks for all those insights, and I think it's just a really interesting time. I mean, I can't imagine the complexities that people who are imagining the future of releases and distribution is a whole nother thing, but it's complicated, it's complex, and I really appreciate you guys for taking it on. And since it's a New Year's Eve show, I just want to say I'm grateful for all the people who make the hobby what it is today, because it's very supportive for me as a human to have something I can enjoy and feel like I'm following and involved in, and I'm very happy that good minds are at work in the hobby.
Well said, man. Thank you for that nice comment. We do have, we got Billy in the room, we got Carvin in the room. They both work, directly in the industry, so that's nice. We just lost Billy, but maybe he'll be back. Some comments I'm just noticing. There's the guys in the chat are having their own conversations, which is great. So I'm just trying to kind of filter through and see if there's anything here to bring on. There was one comment that I saw that I wanted to bring on by AM. He says here, people used to collect coins and stamps. Where are those markets today? And I mean, my reaction to a comment like that is, well, we don't really need coins anymore in society. We don't need stamps that much anymore in society. A lot of stuff is faxed and emailed and all that. Even faxing's gone away for the most part. But sports is different to me, because sports heroes are like a part of culture. Are the kings and the rulers that were pictured on coins. Nobody cares about those historical figures anymore. Bobby raises. I see Bobby kind of go, oh, so maybe some people do, historians do, but I've never had a conversation with my friends about King George or any of these real,
Sir John A.
Who's that?
Sir John A. MacDonald.
Right. But even going back further to like Genghis Khan and the Greeks and going way back in time, the people that are on the historical coins aren't really, I don't know who's collecting them anymore. I just don't know. And same with stamps. Stamps were never interesting to me at all. I think the point I'm trying to make though is that sports are different. The sports figures are a huge part. They're ingrained in society. So for the hobby to follow, for the sports card hobby to follow the same path as stamps and coins, i.e., I know these hobbies still exist, but they're not out there in mainstream media like sports cards are now. For the sports card hobby to follow that is almost like we have to stop caring about sports as a culture. Carvin.
So coins and stamps are still doing fairly well in terms of the marketplace. Every collectibles has gone up. I mean, because everyone's making money in different marketplaces. There's the pandemic going on. And obviously, I think one of the things that people always talk about, the economy, unemployment, all these factors, that's really affecting people that are in the service industry, mom and pop shops. That's what is really affecting the people. The people that have white collar jobs and now staying at home, they're not going to casinos. They're not going to games. They're not going out to eat. They're not doing their $10,000 to $20,000 trip per year, going on a cruise or going to Europe. They're not shopping as much now. So all this pent up, and right now, especially in California, we have pandemic fatigue now. So everyone wants to spend money, right? I think as this pandemic continues to be where it is, and we have lockdowns or medium lockdowns or even mild lockdowns, we're going to see continuous investment back into this business, because it's not, I don't have to go out of my house to buy cards or speculate on cards. Second of all, it's like gambling. Right now, sports cards is like gambling in a sense, not opening packs, but it's gambling like fantasy gambling. If Bobo has a big exhibition game, his cards go up 6x, which is crazy, right? Trey Young has 50 points. All of a sudden, his cards are going up 20%. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, we had stock with the stock Star Stocks, I think he was on, Scott Greenberg, right? It's the same thing. He was like, hey, when you get your players locked in for daily fantasy, you can't change your players. You can't buy or sell your players, but you can buy or sell cards. So this is what's happening now with cards. You're seeing daily reaction, the sensitivity to the market. Nobody wants to miss out on that next big thing like Luka or Trey or all these other players. So they're trying to speculate and invest or buy up, take a chance, like penny stocks, I think what Bobby was saying. So, but going back to the economics, the reason why the security market, we see Bitcoin going up to extreme highs now. We see everything going up because these people have money. The people that are working from home, the top 25% that was buying sports cards in the first place, they're now finding ways to invest into their money. So stock market first, then it goes into cryptocurrency. And I think there was a CNBC article that said Pokemon cards and sports cards, right? So that's what you're seeing. Now, the one thing that I will say is that because, you know, my wife is Chinese, and when China had their lockdown for the first 4 months, as soon as they opened up, because there was pandemic fatigue in China, it was the #1 retail sales day for the next 3 months. It was outstanding sales. So even though they were behind on their GDP by a lot, they actually recovered a lot of it back in the first week. So once it opens up, then all of a sudden everyone's going to go out, and that could potentially happen. Because I've been locked up in my house for so long, I'm going to go on trips. I'm going to go on drive for 3 hours, 4 hours. I'm booking my flight to Europe. I'm going back to Canada. I mean, I may be moving back to Canada for good in the next 2 years. So you know, that type of thing is going to happen because of the pandemic fatigue. So once the vaccination happens, when everyone's safe to go out, then obviously that's going to happen too. That you're going to see less money in this marketplace because now people are going out and spending that money that they miss spending.
Right. They now have their old habits back. They don't have all this extra money just sitting there building up. They're going to put it into that they're putting into cards now. They're going to go back to traveling, going out, the bar, the pub, whatever it is, other luxury items. Why would you go buy a fancy car right now for 150 grand or more, you know, like a real hot sports car when, you know, all you're doing is going to buy essentials. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Carvin, good points there for sure. I have a question for Carvin, but I want to give anybody else have anything to say before I go to Carvin with a question, just based on that. Okay, Carv. So based on everything you've just said, what's your bold prediction for 2021 in the hobby? Where's the hobby going to go, considering that we are expecting the vaccine to make its way through the world here in the next, you know, I don't know, whatever it is, 3 to 12 months, however long it takes. Let's assume that we can have a national in Chicago and us Canadians can travel across the border and come down there for the beginning of August. Assuming that happens, what do you see happening in the hobby in 2021? Where do you see it going, with the baseline being these crazy values we're seeing right now.
Okay, so this is what I'll first say. If you haven't booked your hotel in Chicago, you better do so now. All right, it's going to be the biggest Nationals since the '91 Nationals in Anaheim. In fact, it might be bigger than that. And I don't know, Bobby or Colin, when you're there, I was there. It was mayhem. It was like you had to wait 5 hours from outside to get in. So it's going to happen this year in Chicago. This is bigger than it has been. Everybody that has money is wanting to get in now into the business. So they're going to go to Chicago. So book your hotels now. Yes, Corey.
Can you guys even sell me on the National? For one thing, like I like people, but I don't like large crowds. So for example, I'm in a grocery store. It drives me insane when someone else is looking at the same thing as I am. I want that space.
Don't
so I
go.
couldn't imagine dealing with that at a card expo. So like, if I'm assuming a lot of these cards are online anyway, so what value is it to actually go there in person other than meeting you fine folks?
No, don't go. Honestly, if your problem is crowds, you're going to hate it. So I wouldn't even try and sell you on it. But if you can get past the large crowd issue, it's going to be I'm just praying that our borders open up and I can get down there, because I agree with Carvin. It's going to be the craziest national ever. It's going to be a media circus. There's going to be all sorts of celebrities there buying car. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait.
So what I would say to Corey is, it's really about camaraderie. I mean, it's about building relationships and camaraderie. And I hate to say this, like in terms of any business or being social, it's all about relationships, having face-to-face, that face-to-face, talking to each other, with mask or even without mask, having a beer, discussing your passions together, and we all have like interest, and we can have these lively debates about you're wrong, I'm right about this player or this card, and that's fun, right? And doing it on Zoom is one angle. It's kind of great, but because on Zoom you can't invite other people into the Zoom room. You can't have 100 people here talking or have a dinner, right? So I mean, as of late, just from last year's National to this year, the amount of people that are following me on Instagram just because they know I created Exquisite or the Cup, it's just getting, every day I'm getting like 40, 50 followers now just on Instagram because of that reason. And they want to find out, I'm telling certain stories about the Cup or about, Exquisite, and just some of the thoughts when I was designing some of the products. And people are like, wow, I didn't even know that there was that much thought behind the products. I know Jeremy knows because I always talk to Jeremy offline and tell him some of my crazy ideas, and Jeremy laughs at me, and he just says, "Do it, just do it, see what happens." Right? So, but it's fun, and when you're doing it on Instagram, it's still social media. And the one thing about social media, I actually watched a documentary by Netflix called Social Dilemma. Go watch that, and once you watch that, you're gonna be scared of social media. And I think that's really important, that we have to get outside our social media habits and meet with people, because that's what we are. We're a social animal, and we need to meet people. So I would say, if you have problems with crowds, you're not going to escape it, because this next expo in Toronto, all the Americans are going to come up for that too. So that's going to happen. So every single show for the time being, while this market is hot, it's going to be full of people. Because already, as in 2020. All the guys I was talking to in Arizona at the Tops conference, they were planning on going to Toronto anyways. This is before the pandemic started. Now they're always going to come.
So I'll just echo that, Corey. But you said, aside from meeting you fine folks, what's the reason to go? But Carvin nailed it. It is the camaraderie. I mean, if you're not into camaraderie, then there's probably no and you don't like big crowds. You can find, there's more cards on eBay on any given day than there will be at the National. So, I mean, but I can just tell you, man, I've been to the National every year since 2008, except 1 year. And of course, except for 2020. And it's like, I love it, man. Like it's so much fun. Like I wish it was, but I love the expo in Toronto twice a year, the same. Like I love that too. These are the big card shows. I saw someone in the comments asked how long the National lasts. It's 5 days. Yeah. Oh, Comsey Barry answered him. It's 5 days long. But Corey, I mean, really, it comes down to, I say on the show all the time, if you watch, it's like I got time for lots of friends. I love meeting people and building these relationships, and especially with people that I share the hobby with, right? Because I mean, we have this in common. So if you're into building out that network in your life, coming to a show and shaking hands and, bumping elbows and showing, hey, what did you, hey, I just picked up this card. Hey, can I see it? I want it. Like, we will get excited to see what you just bought because we want to show you what we just bought. And it's fun to see what people are buying and how people are approaching the hobby. So, but if you can't make the national, come to the expo. It's as fun. It really is. Bobby.
I have to keep on clicking on mute here. So Carbon, this is a question for him. Do you foresee the national happening this year?
It's tough to say. I think right now we're probably a month or 2 months away from really determining that the national is going to happen. Obviously, there's already talk about how the vaccination is not rolling out where they're expecting. They're at 20 million vaccinations, or expected to have 20 million by the end of the year, and they're only like 3 million out. So they're 17 million behind. So I don't know where it stands. Even the one Dallas show, it was like a mini national the last time. It was a couple months ago. That though I don't know if you saw, like Marshmallow was there, Steve Aoki was there with a gas mask on completely. It was like a mini national. So people are hungry for a national. On the other note, for Corey, the other thing is that I said in the notes here, you can also trade with other people. On eBay is a pure transaction. So this way you can trade with other people that wants to trade with your cards. But I honestly think that I'm hoping there will be a national, but I think even if the national doesn't happen, there will be some sort of show happening, whether it's in Dallas or other areas, once the pandemic kind of dies down.
That Dallas show earlier this year, like last month, was a big hit, apparently. I mean, I would have loved to have gone there, but of course I wouldn't. Of course I can't cross the border anyway, and it would be a hell of a trip to get from Calgary to Dallas to go to a card show. But, if it wasn't COVID and there was no national, I probably would have made the trip just because it was a card show and there were no other card shows. So what's that, Bobby? 11th annual national. Oh, he's got a program from the 11th national. So what year would that have been? 2002?
Arlington. Yeah, it is Arlington. That's the year of the Gretzky and Waugh promo card giveaway.
1990. Wow.
Yeah, am I right, Bobby? That's the year that Upper Deck gave away the Gretzky and Waugh promo.
I'm not too sure about that.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that was the one. And 91 was the Reggie Jackson with the Looney Tunes, which I have a lot of those. I think I've had too much of them.
Overstock of wax.
Yeah, not anymore. Now you wish you had that wax now.
It's kind of nice having the old programs and looking through them. I have a big collection of stuff, so like that.
The prices in the want ads section for sure. So who else? Anybody else have anything interesting that they want to mention? Colin, let's go to you.
Yeah. If the national doesn't happen, like the expo being in November, is probably a better chance of that happening. And then I think this year the national was scheduled to go in December. I think it was rescheduled to happen in December, which would be awesome. If I don't think the national go on, but if it goes on in December, having 2 back-to-back shows, that'll turn up the industry again. Like the pricing of everything will just go through the roof. Just from like it's going to be an epic show in November if it goes.
Oh yeah, I agree, man. Can't wait for it. I hope we get the national. I hope we get the expo in November. I hope we get the expo in the spring. But I'm skeptical of for that. Bobby's shaking his head. No, yeah, I think you're probably right. It's right around the corner. So,
well, they need time to line up guests and people to travel. So you need 3 to 4 months at least. That's why there's 6 months in between them, right? So
yeah. Okay, we got a question from the chat here from Dawa Dean. He says, Jeremy, where do your guests see Jordan's Fleer going? PSA 10 is like 200,000. Do you see this card going to $1 million one day? And I don't know the population of the PSA 10s off the top of my head. If anyone here has an idea, it was like 230 or something.
350, I think.
350.
I think it's like 350. Yeah.
350, something like that. So. Dawadeen wants to know, what do you guys think? Does anybody want to put up their hand and let me know if they have an opinion on what's going to happen with the Michael Jordan PSA 10 Fleer? Joe, what do you think?
Well, what kind of time frame are we talking here? I mean, yeah, I think for we could talk about humanity's longevity, if you will. I mean, yeah. If we march on as a culture, eventually the Jordan will get to 1 million.
Yeah, fair answer. I mean, it's almost like it's inevitable, right? Who would have ever thought it would get to $10,000? Never mind 50, 100, 200. It's almost like $1 million is right around the corner. To be real, how long is it going to be? And especially if these things are gobbled up by fractional companies and investment private equity funds, which I know are out there too. Then what does the float become? The population's one thing, but as important, if not more important, is the actual float of cards that are available at any given time. And what is that float going to be? Because if there's 350 of them, but 300 of them are locked away, like in these fractional companies, and the shares are trading all the time, then Chris tells us 317 PSA 10. So if 250 are gobbled up and there's 67 left out there for guys like you and me who can't afford them anyway, what does that do to the value? I think it pushes it up and up and up and up until the fractionals start releasing them into the wild because it now makes sense. And then the price comes down, down, down. And then they're gobbled up by collectors and it goes up, up, up. This is what's happened in the hobby since the hobby began. It goes up, it comes down, it goes up, it comes down, up, down, but it always goes up. It trends upward. It always has trended upward. We've noticed that the hobby is extremely resilient. It's resilient to the 2008 financial crash. It's resilient to the 2020 pandemic, and it might not be resilient throughout 2008, but it always bounces back, and it always has. I want to bring up Legion's Happy New Year to the panel. Thank you very much, Legion. Thank you for the tip. Always, that's just appreciated and not necessary. But thank you very much, Legion. Your loyalty, your viewership all year has been awesome. So thank you and Happy New Year to you. That's what I think about the hobby, the trend. Paul, what do you have to add?
So there was a comment I saw a while ago in the, I got YouTube up on the side, and someone said in 20 to 30 years, who's going to want my hows and my ores? At what point do these people get forgotten about and nobody cares? Like I have a 6-year-old. He's only knows about Gordie Howe because of YouTube clips or pictures that I show him. So is there a point that, it almost becomes moot and it starts dropping because nobody cares anymore?
I think there is. I think it's a great point. And I think that is okay. So Gordie Howe, maybe not, because, and so if anyone has anything to add, let me know with your hand. But okay, Corey, we'll go to you, then we'll go to you, Charles. But my opinion on that, Paul, is that yes, eventually nobody's going to care about the players from the 50s. And then eventually no one's going to care about the players from the 60s and then the 70s and the 80s. And that's going to keep on going as the decades go by. But I do believe that the greatest of all times will always have a place in history, like the Gordie Howes, the Bobby Orrs, the Wayne Gretzkys, the Mario Lemieux, the Sidney Crosbys. But you take everybody else, and not everybody, but almost everybody else, it's like, who cares? Like, when does a Steve Yzerman rookie card become just nobody even knows who he was? Like, doesn't matter. When does that happen? I don't know. That's a great question. But right now, people are still paying millions of dollars for Mickey Mantles, right? And now that he's not a Steve Yzerman, he's one of these GOAT type guys. So that may not be a great example. But people are still paying big money for the, not top tier Hall of Famers from the 40s, 50s. So I think it's a while down the road, but I do definitely think that's going to happen. It's just like I don't care about the leaders of the Greeks back in the 1300s, whenever that was. I don't even know, but there you go. Don't even know when those people are of importance. No, I don't know, Bobby. I'm too busy studying the sports card hobby than ancient Roman history. But my point is, but to Paul's point, it might be 20 years down the road. It might be 100 years down the road. Don't know. So we were going to go to who? Bobby, were you next, or was it Charles?
Go ahead, Bob.
No, I didn't have anything to say. I'm good.
Oh, maybe it was. Sorry, it was Corey.
We're in a time in civilization where we've only started recording stuff on video probably since maybe the 30s. Sure, there was TV, I'd say, in the 50s, but we started recording stuff in the 30s. So we're in a time now that there will be documented footage available of all these players. So I do think that, yes, some players might drop off in terms of relevancy, but for the most part, the true legends like a Howe, maybe even a Sid Abel, for example, if he's on there, you could always look back to these videos and they'll never be forgotten about because there's access to it. There will always be YouTube or whatever's after YouTube. So while I can't say for certainty that these guys will be relevant in the hobby, I think we're in an interesting time because of the way we document things now versus, say, back in the days of, some King Louis VIII or something, for example. So I think, we'll see, but it's definitely easier to be relevant for a long time now, more than any other time in history.
I agree completely with that. The video helps a lot. My retort to that, and just to add to the conversation, is that, and this comes back to, I think it was Colin's comment earlier, that like the shelves in his local card shop, you can't even see the ground because there's just so much product there. Well, think about the clips. If you go forward 40 years, even 10 years, there's going to be so much video of so many players. Who's going to have time to actually go back to use your example, Sid Abel from the 40s and 50s, and nothing against Sid Abel. But are you really, like, if you're going to be looking back, aren't you going to be looking back to the players that your father talked about, or your grandfather talked about? Are you going to go back 150 years? Are you going to go back even 80 years? Or are you going to stick to kind of the last relevant years, the last 1 to 40 years? And I'm just kind of pulling these numbers out of a hat for discussion purposes. And I don't know the answer to this. I'm not arguing with what you're saying or trying to be against. I just don't know. So, but that's the thing, Com C. Barry makes up just your point too. He says YouTube will make players from the past stay relevant. In the past, there's no video of players. I think that's a good point, but someone kind of straighten me out here. Colin, I think you were first, then Bobby.
George Vezina is still relevant. It's over 110 years since his rookie card. Christy Matheson, Ty Cobb, people are still buying these cards, and nobody's seen them play. So right. Gordie Howe, he's always going to be there. Bobby Orr, they're still going to be the greatest players the NHL's ever had. Just because of the generations or the eras are so different. Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus, he's the GOAT.
So these are GOATs, and I think that I get that. There's comments, the Babe Ruth, the Honus Wagner from Dawadin. Yeah, appreciate that comment and agree 100%. They're 100. It's 100 years since some of these guys played. I completely. What about everybody else? Let's remember, we're talking about there's 5 players, 10 players that are of that GOAT status in each sport. What about everybody else in everybody else from those times? How are they going to stay relevant?
The set collectors are going to need them to complete the set.
The historic
the guys that don't mean anything that everybody's trying to find.
Will there be enough set collectors 100 years from now collecting C56s and T206s?
It won't matter to us.
Well, Charles shakes his head. Charles, let's go to Charles and then I had Bobby on tap, but let's go to Charles first and then either Carvin or Bobby after.
No, I just wanted Charles to go first because I think he's the ultimate answer to this.
Charles, you're up, buddy.
Yes. Oh, just to add on to this, just from my perspective, you don't see a lot of kids talking about guys, even Paul Coffey and Mark Messier, and they're Hall of Famers. They're great players. So what I'm thinking is, yes, guys like Gretzky, possibly Mario, Gordie Howe, they're always going to be worth they're always going to be worth something. But it wouldn't surprise me if, let's say 50, 60 years from now, Yzerman's a $10, $20 card. It wouldn't shock me. And I get that set collectors, they need these cards to complete their sets. And, some years are going to be harder to get than others, 75, 76 OPG at a really thin card stock. So those in high grade are going to be sought after. However, with those lower end cards, there's not going to be enough set collectors in, even 30 years, I think personally, to where that's going to hold their value up.
Well, I mean that's kind of what I think too. I think set collecting is going to become a lost art to a degree, and somewhat because the card companies, it's like they have to produce. Hold on, bringing Billy back. Sorry, Billy, just noticed you there. The card companies have to produce these base sets like to fill in these packages. But you watch the breakers. Even me, I busted a box of Series 1 tonight while we've been on. I got this stack of base here. It's going into my Halloween can. It's going to my Halloween box to give out for Halloween next year, and packs of 10 to the kids in the neighborhood if they can go trick-or-treating that. Point being that it's like people right now seem to want the hits. They want the big rookies. Here's a whole episode really. Is set collecting becoming a lost art? And I'd like to hear Carvin.
Okay, so let me go back to the greats. One thing of note, you always hear about grandfathers or fathers saying, you should have watched this guy play. He was the best. You'll hear that about Bobby Orr. Like kids growing up today will never hear about Bobby Orr, but people my age, or even you, Jeremy, are going to Colin or Bobby, we're going to say Bobby Orr was the best player we've ever seen. Better than Gretzky, in fact, his skating skills and everything. We'll always say that. The reason why he's not the one considered the GOAT compared to Gretzky is that he got his injuries got to him. If there was arthroscopic surgery back in those days, he would have been a monster. He was just that good of a player, right? So that's what we always hear. You always hear stories, and of course, the highlights will come up on YouTube that we see about the greats. Yes, I agree with you, Charles, about the Yzermans. They'll get forgotten. The Joey Mullins, the 500 goal scorers, they'll get forgotten. But the greats, the GOATs, as we said. The other thing I wanted to also address, and then I'll get into set collecting, is we've actually, Generation X, believe it or not, has probably been one of the luckiest groups of sports fans ever. We've seen all the GOATs. If you think about it, like outside of baseball and hockey, going back to the 20s and 30s, we've seen all the GOATs. We've seen Ken Dryden in hockey, right? We saw Patrick Waugh, Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin now, right? And of course, Connor McDavid. We've seen all this. In football, we watched Joe Montana. We watched the guys at the Cowboys or Emmitt Smith, or we watched now Tom Brady winning 6 championships, right? In tennis, I used to, as a kid, watch I used to watch Bjorn Borg or John McEnroe, and then also we have Roger Federer and Nadal. It just gets better and better sports. We're seeing so much of the GOATs. After Jordan, everyone said, who's going to take over the mantle for Jordan? Well, lo and behold, it was LeBron James now, and now basketball's stronger than ever, right? That there's a new GOAT in town now. In boxing, I think the one sport that's probably the most lacking is boxing right now. Because back in the 70s, we had Muhammad Ali, we had like Ken Norton versus Muhammad Ali, the Thriller in Manila, right, Joe? Exactly. And then we had the Rope-a-Dope. We had Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. It was like there was boxing like fights like every month. It was like huge boxing fights, and now it's bridged onto UFC. But UFC is not exactly boxing. It's not. It doesn't have that the same allure. And you didn't have Howard Cosell going off with Muhammad Ali, like building it up. And that's the one sport that we're really probably in a downturn. But every other sport, we've seen the GOATs now. We've been lucky. I mean, I hate to say that I'm Generation X. I'm over 50 years old. But at the same time, we've seen a lot of great athletes. Now, going to set collecting, one thing that's interesting about set collecting, which I'll bring on, is that prior to this whole pandemic, or even starting last year at the National, no one cared about base cards. We had these breakers that threw away all their base cards, right? And going back to even like 2014 and 15, Prism basketball wasn't selling that well. It was actually selling at a discount at $25 a box for Giannis rookie year, until Gary Vee said, "Hey, I'm buying up Giannis rookies, base rookies." And everyone going, "Oh, you're crazy buying up Giannis rookies." And now those boxes are worth, $10,000 a box because of Giannis rookies. And all these breakers, actually what they did was that 14 World Cup, 13 Prism, 12 Prism, all these cards, all the base cards, they threw it away. So you know how we talked about our mom threw away all their 70s and 60s cards? Well, these breakers threw away all the cards. All the Pokemon collectors, they all threw away their base cards. Like, oh, Pokemon's not going to be around for a while. So they all threw it away. That's why this stuff is worth a ton of money now. It's because even though we always talk about history repeats itself. Yes, our parents threw away hockey cards. Who would have thought that later on, when Pokemon came along and it didn't last, Pokemon got thrown out, right? And then all of a sudden, when the breakers got involved, all the base cards got thrown out. So I had one breaker that came to me, and I asked, yeah, he broke a lot of Prism, he broke a lot of World Cup. I asked, hey, did you throw away all your commons? He said, no. I go, so what have you been doing? He goes, well, I've been breaking as much because I've been selling all my singles. His singles amounted to $500,000 worth of extra money. That's how much money those singles were worth. Because Messi PSA 10s, and he didn't even get them PSA, he just sold them raw. Had he got them PSA, he probably would have got over $1 million worth of cards. So that just tells you how huge the factor of throwing away cards is if we don't have enough room or we deem that it's useless. One day we may see Beanie Babies be worth a ton of money because everyone threw them away too. Believe it or not. Bobby's shaking his head, but we don't know. So yeah, I'll leave that there. But set collecting is a form because now the base cards come back. I mean, all these guys, all these old school collectors, they're actually collecting the base cards. That's why the top's chrome, and I think Young Guns are going to be huge in demand soon. So
yeah. Okay, Joe, you got something, and then I think Charles.
I'll keep it quick. I think where I'm at is there's a dialectic between GOATs and, you know, personal interest in terms of like a player that you might be interested in. I'm interested in to see how that trends in the hobby. I think more and more people are going towards GOATs, and I'm not sure that's an entirely good thing, but I understand it. It reflects my position as well. I mean, to argue with people that you know are going to be successful long term, and it's also kind of fun and interesting to have a few players that are, you know, the players you follow, you know, your personal interest.
Yeah, well said. Charles.
Yeah, just to add on to the base cards, I don't know too much about like the other cards in the world, but I know that a first edition Shadowless Venusaur for Pokemon PSA 10 sells for like $3,000. So there's definitely, I can see with really exclusive base cards, and we see it with like Burt Corbo and hockey base card. I mean, not that there's ever going to be that again, but when you see that, like it always makes us wonder, are base cards going to be worth something in a high grade? And I think it all depends on, is the base card more scarce, and is it hard to find centered, and is it of a really important player? So I think in other categories of cards like Pokemon, it's already taken off, but I wouldn't be like shocked if it happens in other sports.
Okay, Billy.
First, this is probably my last comment because my internet's been going in and out. I apologize for Jeremy for you having to constantly bring me back into the room the last 30 minutes.
It's okay, man. No problem.
I will. The funny thing when you were talking about the GOATs and stuff like that, I actually just had this conversation, and some of you might know, I actually collect, along with cards, I collect celebrity autographs. And the topic of like Julie Andrews came up. And it's just like, my friend's like, do you think she's worth anything? I'm like, well, she has collected. There's like a Sound of Music poster. Sound of Music used to be like one of the biggest movies in the world or whatever. And it, the stars from it were a big deal. And nowadays, if you ask, younger people, have they even heard of the movie Sound of Music, or do they know who's in the movie Sound of Music? They won't be able to tell you. So I think it's kind of like entertainment and sports, the same thing. Like, stars from back in the day aren't necessarily like the biggest stars in the world. I hope those Isermans turn into $10 to $12 cards so I can pick up a whole bunch more. It's a trend in not just sports, but in other things. It's just like something used to be really big, and they used to be huge stars, and they're still stars. They still won all these Emmys. They still won all these Oscars, but the later generations might not know. But then you have those GOATs like you're talking about, like the Eastwoods and the Sean Connerys, that are still going to be worth money as time progresses. And it was funny that you mentioned that, because I just had this conversation with somebody. And then as for set collecting, what's interesting is, we still try to like have certain things where you can collect a set. But it's a lot harder now for those people that are trying to do full sets, like master sets, because we keep adding more and more inserts and stuff. What I will say from a set collecting standpoint, it might not be a full set that they're collecting, but one of the things that we focus on is creating insert sets. That maybe someone wants to collect the full insert set of this. Like maybe Jeremy, you want to collect all the PMGs. Maybe someone else wants to collect all the limited logos. I know Amit likes to collect all the Supreme patches. So, you know, we're trying to create, it might not necessarily be master set collectors anymore, but we are consciously thinking of like insert sets, at least if we're not just thinking about the regular set in general, for people to collect.
I'm so glad that you do, because I really enjoy that stuff. Yeah, selfishly.
And I'm gonna take off. Carvin, great talking to you. Always great insight from you, man. And everybody else, stay safe. Happy New Year. And I'll be listening, but my phone just isn't doing the job right now to keep this steady going. So take care, guys.
Take care, Billy. Happy New Year, buddy. Okay, was Colin, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, well, for the set collecting, like I'm a vintage dealer and I'm like overwhelmed with the amount of lists that I have to fill for people. You know, like there's only inserts for, you know, so many years in the hockey cards anyway, but 50s, 60s, 70s, like now 80s is just taken off. And, you know, people are trying to fill these sets, trust me, you know, like it's a big deal to, you know, because if that's what they want to try and sell the set as a set eventually. And you know, just what's going on with the pandemic, like I've got a lot of clients that are just sitting at home going through cards and trying to finish all their sets now. And it's definitely still very prominent on the vintage side, you know, like the newer stuff, sure, you're probably not going to finish out the sets because they're not worth much, but you know, the vintage stuff, all sports, baseball, football, you know, it's still out there.
Well, I'm glad, you know, that's what's great about tonight here. I mean, we've got such a good mix of different perspectives, you know. We've got young Charles, we got Carvin, Billy, you know, Bobby. I mean, and then just these different perspectives from collectors like, you know, Corey, Joe, Paul, myself. You know, I'm just a collector myself, and then you got hobby historian Bobby. Like, what a great what a great mix. So I appreciate you speaking up, Colin, because you know. It's a question: is set collecting going to become a lost art or not? I like how Billy says at Upper Deck they are trying to build these insert sets that you can collect now. But I think what you're saying is from the vintage perspective, people are still collecting those sets, and yeah, I bet people will, because I think some people like myself, like Bobby, we like to be somewhat of a historian and collecting.
Let me try and do it.
Going back in time is like a part of being a historian and collecting those sets and being a custodian of the history. So, and good stuff. Good stuff. Joe, were you? Bobby, you've got your hand up. I'll let you go.
Yeah, just rewinding a little bit to what Carvin was saying. I know you were talking about Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky as being the GOAT. You have to understand. I guess Bobby Orr, he was a defenseman who's won the scoring league. You know. Whereas Wayne Gretzky was a forward who won, you know, obviously what he did. So the GOAT was Bobby Orr, and it changed only of late to Wayne Gretzky. And getting back to what Charles was saying, you know, he was referring to the Bert Crow Bowl. The Bert Crow Bowl was short printed. It was in a chocolate bar, and it was a short printed card. They didn't want to redeem a prize, so that's why they short printed. They got in trouble in that time period. But going to today, and we look at it, there's short prints now because things are limited to numbered series. So you still have the Bert Crow Bows. It's just in a different way. And
that might be Joe. That might be Joe's. Okay. Keep going, Bobby.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I think today, with all the video and what we have more of a sense of a future than we do have of a history. When I grew up, it was more sense of a history. So, you know, as we get older, I think I'm at the back end of the baby boomer. I think I'm the last year. But and I hate to say it, maybe I'll go with the X generation Carvin. But it's just I think that as we move forward, those generations will change, and I do see people drifting away from the vintage. In Canada, we don't have as much of a sense of history as Americans do. I always give them credit because they always are very patriotic, and I really love that. And we don't have that much so in Canada. Like, who can name 10 past prime ministers? Like, exactly. But I can name 10 presidents, or probably 20 or 30. So we don't have that. And that's where I'm scared for hockey a little bit. With baseball, Ruth Gehrig, all the other guys, Mantle, they're going to be for there forever, and the goats of the hockey will be there forever. But the other stuff, I think it'll middle and slowly wear down, but that's 20, 30 years from now, and who knows where we'll all be.
Okay, so one thing I also wanted to add about goats and everything, there's something that I was bringing up to a couple of people recently. I also believe in winning moments. And when I talk about winning moments, that is really important in terms of baseball, basketball, football, anything history, right? Because obviously when we were growing up in the 70s and 80s, all we can think of was Paul Henderson scored the winning goal. The guy was he was a B player or C player, but he scored the winning goal against the Russians in that 72 series, the Summit Series. And he was a hero, a national hero for that reason. So when I'm talking about that, because I was comparing, obviously the Cup rookie of Crosby versus LeBron. And I said, what is LeBron's defining moment in a championship game to win the championship? Like, he's won 4 championships. But what is his defining moment? It was blocking Andre Iguodala in that shot that could have won Golden State the championship in Game 7. That was his defining moment. I go, now you compare Crosby. He scored the winning goal in the Olympics in overtime. That's a huge difference, right? Joe Carter will always be remembered for hitting that home run. Bill Mazeroski for hitting Game 7. Those winning moments that happen, those moments in time, are what people remember. Those are what myths are about. It could be other issues, other things like, the Carlton Fisk home run where he's waving the ball into fair grounds. Like, those moments, or the immaculate reception, right, with Franco Harris and Terry Bradshaw. Those type of iconic moments also can define a player's collectability too.
Yeah, that's a great point, Carvin, because we always talk about goats and all that, but what about those historical GOAT moments? It's like, you can be a GOAT, but do you have a GOAT moment to go along with it, right? Where you're in history, like.
That's the whole Trout question, right? Like, does Trout have a GOAT moment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So I think that's actually something that has escaped the hobby right now. Or else Joe Carter cards would be skyrocket high right now, or Bill Mazeroski cards will be high. But if you think about it, those moments define time. Or Kirk Gibson, that's another one. Like, even though I would say that the Kirk Gibson home run was probably more influential of a home run than any home run in World Series history, because there was no reason the Dodgers should be in the finals when their cleanup hitter was hitting 170, $170. Mike Davis was the cleanup hitter. That home run defined everything for that team, and Oral Hershiser, of course, being the Bulldog. So, but I mean, those are the type of moments that you remember. And when you listen to Ken Burns' documentary over baseball, he always talks about those iconic moments in history. So I think that's really important. And unfortunately, Bobby, I'd love for you to say the Americans are patriotic. Not these days. I've lived here for 20 years, and it's gone completely opposite in the last 20 years I've been here. So.
Let's say half of them are more. So.
Yeah, half of them are on the one side, half of them are on the other side.
Don't forget the Bobby Orr flying goal.
It is. That's right. That's what it also was. That the one moment of Bobby Orr's career is his flying goal. It's not even the 76 series where he dominated in the Canada Cup. And then, of course, for Gretzky and Lemieux, it was the 87 Canada Cup when they scored that goal together and against the Russians. So there are GOATs. And speaking of GOATs, I was showing this card earlier. Here's my Roger Federer rookie from Net Pro Elite. He's a GOAT. So won the most Wimbledon titles ever, right? So
what is that GOAT? What issue is that?
That's 2003 Net Pro Elite. There's 2,000 cards of these. I didn't buy a graded one. There's one that's 2,000, and there's a gold parallel that's out of, I think, 100. So those come in the sets. Those boxes now are like $800 a set, and you get one of these cards. There's also Serena Williams and Rafael Nadal is also rookies in there too in that set. Actually, $1,500 a set now. I think, or $2,000 a set.
Charles, would you answer the question of why you collect vintage?
Yeah.
opposed to today's cards. We were talking earlier about it, so I'd like to hear that, please.
Yeah, for sure. So I used to collect a bit of modern. That's how I got in, but I was always mainly a vintage collector. So I collected modern just because, like at the time, like this was like grade 5. So like my friends were collecting it, and then I went to the shows. I got a bit more serious, but then got into my modern stuff, started collecting vintage. Why I collect vintage? My dad got me into it. He saved a bunch of stuff from when he was collecting in, like 90, 91, when the Toronto Expos were still going on. And he tells me about it. He doesn't remember much, but like he was a part of those early days. And so he saved a couple wax packs. We opened them all. And he saved a binder for me. And inside of the binder, there was lots of early 90s stuff, but there was a few hidden gems in there. Like I remember specifically a really beaten up Yari Curry rookie and a Grant Fear, and also a Hardy Astrom 8081. Don't know why I remember that, but which was his rookie and only card, which is why I like that card. But I went to the show in 2015-16, and that was my first ever Toronto Expo. And I was just looking around, and I was just amazed, like I could smell the cards, and they like smell old. And why I was interested in these old players was because in grade 5, there was a book of the top 100 players in hockey. There were only 2 or 3 modern players on that list. So I was like, oh, who are these guys? And then from there, I just did more research, and, the cards just really, it was like a piece of history, if you will, which is why I started collecting vintage. That's why I still do it today.
So you like the history?
Yeah, it's history, watching old tapes, and there's a bunch of forgotten players. I could name a whole list of them, but guys like like Bill Durham, Harold Cotton, Sugar Jim Henry, Dennis DeJordy, Chico Mackey, just a bunch of guys like that. Like the little hidden gems. I like, to me, that's my bread and butter right there. But
Bobby's like glowing with pride right now. Are you sure you're not my kid?
He's in tears. Like you can tell he's crying. Bobby's crying now. So one of the things that I always go back to is in the 70s, 60s, all these players have stories about them. And I think hockey cards is part of storytelling. And I think as social people, we love hearing stories. Like, for example, if I'm on Instagram talking about Exquisite or Cup or some of the ideas I come up with, or some of the craziness like the bubbling of 05, 06, limited logos and why that happened. I know Jeremy knows about it. It was a frustrating whole experience for me, and I don't care to get into it today. But obviously, those type of stories, actually, people can at least share your passion on the story, understand your story, and really bond with you. And with the players, when you watch YouTube videos of, like, for example, you'll watch like was it Phil Esposito who was screaming at the fans in Vancouver during the Summit Series? You can now understand his frustration, and you can say, oh my God, I can't believe Canadian fans were cheering against their own team because they played horribly or something like that. I think that type of storytelling bridges these players over time, or Mickey Mantle getting with Whitey Herzog, getting drunk after a game and going to a bar and, doing whatever they were doing and swearing at each other, right? So those type of things are like great storytelling things, because ultimately when we get older, we want to tell our own memories or our own thoughts or what we can relive, right? That's nostalgia is a big key of our lives. That's why we collect hockey cards, because it's nostalgia for us. And that's why Pokemon is such big collectible items for the millennials, because that's nostalgia for them. Who knows? I mean, the next group of people, Generation Z, they may be collecting digital gear because that's what they remember. Digital gear in Fortnite, right? Or digital gear in League of Legends. And if you look at some of the Fortnite stuff or some of the Roblox stuff, like the gear you can get, they're going for hundreds of thousands of dollars right now. And it's just cosmetic suits. But that's because they were in that arena. They may be nostalgic about that. So like one of the cards that I recently looked at was the World of Warcraft. Is at Upper Deck. We had the World of Warcraft game. And this card was called the Spectral Tiger. It was in a trading card game. It was called a Spectral Tiger. So it was nothing of the card. The card had a picture of Spectral Tiger. And when the World of Warcraft game was on, the commercial was on for World of Warcraft. It was Mr. T doing his avatar in the World of Warcraft game, and he was riding this transparent tiger. Well, that was the card. That was the tiger that was available in the Upper Deck packs. So at that time, that card was going for $600, just so that you can have your avatar in World of Warcraft to ride a transparent tiger. So a spectral tiger, right? I just looked up yesterday what it's going for currently, right? After this pandemic, it's going for $15,000 now.
Crazy.
So that's a mount. I can't even show the mount in real life to you, a tangible item. But is it really that different than holding a sports card that I put in a vault and I just bring it up to you once in a while? Now I get to be really cool and socialize in a game, right? So that's what it is. So I think Generation Z may end up start collecting all these Fortnite stuff and everything else. Maybe you can address that, Charles, if you agree with that.
Okay, one second, guys, because we're just going to bring Native Card Guy on the screen. He wanted to come in and say something, so we're going to welcome him. How's it going, man? Go. You're on mute. You're on mute. Take yourself off and mute.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
So, what I was saying earlier with what I was doing with cards and how I actually got into it. Now, I actually got caught up in the wrong end of life and whatever else and saw breaks. Okay. And once I got myself back to normal, got the kids back, got everything back, like with native life, like a lot of people don't actually get what actually happens. And it's hard to actually get back to where you can do positive things. Now, if anybody can actually see on my videos that I hand out food, I give away cards, I do a lot of different things to try get the hobby back to.
Oh, I think we just lost him. We just lost you. I don't know if you can still see us, but try and come on back, and we'll get you back on here. In the meantime, Charles, why don't you? I think you were going to maybe. Oh, we have him back, guys. I'm going to bring him back on one more time in a second here. Charles, you go ahead. You go ahead and respond to Carvin, please. If I think you guys were kind of in that sort of discussion, and then I'll bring Native Card Guy back on in a minute.
Yeah, for sure. That, first of all, Carvin, that absolutely like shocks me, but at the same time, it doesn't, because my cousin, he collects Mega Man stuff, like unopened energy drinks, and I'm just sitting there like, what? But the truth is, like with these different subsets of guys, like collecting things besides sports, I mean, that market could, like go crazy too. Like I could see that happening for sure.
Okay, guys, I'm going to unmute Native Card Guy now. Oh, sorry. There it is. What can I call you? What's your name? Okay, he's not working. Sorry, guys. It was a good story he was getting to. Okay, so
I'll sum up his story a little bit. I think that, a hobby is a good thing for anybody at any age. My father-in-law has nothing to do, plays cards. I tried to give him a laptop. I tried to give him, he couldn't do these things. And he's just not happy with his life. I think having it when you're young, which will divert your attention to doing wrong things. And as you get older, midlife, even older, as you get older, having a little hobby is such a healthy thing that people shouldn't, be encouraged to get into. It doesn't matter what you're collecting. It doesn't matter value, as long as you're collecting something. Who doesn't look forward to getting mail? Right. And who doesn't want to wake up to a treasure hunt every morning?
There you go. I know that's one of your favorite lines, right? Okay.
That's my line.
Okay. Native Card Guy. What is your actual name so I can refer to you as such if you don't? Oh, and he's gone again. Okay.
Quit asking his name.
I know. I'm just, I'm trying to have something proper to call him. Native Card Guy just doesn't roll off the tongue so easily.
3 times and you're out.
Yeah. But AM says awesome perspectives, Bobby. And I'm sorry to all the guys who are commenting that I haven't been getting to you, but we got a lot of talking going on in here, so it's really been hard to bring them in into the show tonight like I usually do. And Comsey Barry has had his New Year's about 3 minutes ago. So happy New Year's to Carvin. Happy New Year's to Joe, all you West Coasters. It hit New Year's for you guys about 3 minutes ago. Colin, is that you want to go in?
Yeah.
Colin, go ahead,
yeah. I'm buying a collection in a couple of weeks, and the whole deal is hinging on 3 sets of garbage pail kids. That's that's where it doesn't matter. Everybody collects something different. Like I've always said about the amount of shows that are in Ontario, and Bobby can attest to this. There's a model train show every month that's just packed with people. And that's just the way it is. Like everybody's different, and everybody collects something different. And like I sell a lot of records, like albums. There's tons of people that are buying albums right now. That it's not just sports cards and non-sports cards. It's a bit of everything that's kind of taken over the world here. With the pandemic and everything.
That's why I love having you on the show tonight, because you're really filling in the gaps for me, and I imagine for some other people, unless I'm the only one who's total tunnel vision into sports cards. But I don't know that I am. So yeah, I appreciate that perspective, Colin, for sure. Anyone else noticing anything other than sports cards kind of blowing up right now where you guys are at? Joe, Corey, Paul, I mean, anything going on in your necks of the woods that you're seeing happening, or your friends, your contemporaries, anybody collecting anything else that's really taken off? Can you kind of, not that I'm looking to corroborate what Colin's saying, because I have no issue believing him, but I'm just wondering if anyone else has any experience like that. Paul.
I find guys are picking up some of the old paper money here. We're in the oil patch area, so people have a lot of money, and I think I want to get some for my kids, $2 and $1 bills, even just the old brown ones that I knew as a kid. So yeah, I see a lot on Marketplace, a set of $3 $2 bills selling for, upwards of $40-$50 sometimes.
So paper money, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Nobody cares about queens or kings.
Yeah. No, but they care about money, which you can actually use.
Well, graded coins have hit record prices that unlike you've ever seen too. We're in that, it doesn't matter that there's a king or queen or whoever's on it. It's really about the collecting marketplace. So CGC is killing it, and now they're going to come into the hobby card market. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I see Carbon's comments, sneakers, Funkos, Nintendo games, Lego. And I just see very quickly, Paul, you're out of here. So thanks for joining, Paul. Great to hang out with you tonight. Happy New Year to you. And we'll see you on the show in the future. See you in the chat. Thank you, buddy. Peace out. Happy New Year. Yeah, sneakers, Funkos, Nintendo games, Lego. So sneakers is obvious because it seems like you hear about it all the time. So I'm familiar with that market, or at least the existence of it. Funkos seems to be a very modern thing, new thing that seems to have a license. They have like every license known to man, it feels like. Nintendo games, I see that happening. You see sealed graded Nintendo games going for like Super Mario 3 for like 150 grand, something ridiculous like that. But the one that kind of I wasn't that a bit of familiarity with it, but not a lot, is Lego, and Lego sets being worth some money now. That I found that pretty interesting. Old Game Boy, says Charles. Yeah, old Game Boys. That's pretty cool.
Anyway. We're in an era of what's the next best? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And it's in jump up prices. Now we're coming down with a lot of different things. So the next big thing is Mr. Big Bars. There's an unopened 2001 basketball box with Vince Carter. Slam dunk contest.
And you just love the smell.
Oh no!
It still smells good. That's the funny part.
Yeah. I have
first basketball purchase.
Okay, so I have a story about Mr. Biggs.
Go ahead.
All right, Mr. Big Bars, which they don't have in the U.S., which is a great chocolate bar. It has the wafer, like an O. Henry bar with a wafer in it, right? So,
well, they do have it in the States, do they not? Because they had Shaq on all those Mr. Biggs.
Most places don't have Mr. Biggs. No Coffee Crisp. The Smarties down here are not Smarties; they're M&Ms, and Smarties are like little rocket, the rockets that we have in Canada.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what they have. So Mr. Big, back in the 80s, I think it was 81 or 82. there was a contest, and I love Mr. Biggs, and it was whatever Gretzky ends on the number of points you match, you win a jersey. I think I ingested over 200 Mr. Biggs that year just to try to get that 212 number, and that's probably the reason why I'm way overweight because of that reason. I think there's probably other reasons, but that was one of them. Every time I came back home from school, it was like, oh, I got to get Mr. Big. Oh man, he's 100. He already has 180 points. This has 142 points. I missed it already. Like, you wrap it in the bar and the 3 digits are on there. So I just remember that contest like it was yesterday.
81, 82, and 82, 83. It ran for 2 different years, and they gave away 16,000 jerseys.
Wow, Bobby's a historian with Mr. Big.
I know everything about Mr. Big. So,
Corey,
changing. Is it okay if I change the topic?
Yeah, no problem.
I saw someone comment. I don't know if they want their name out there, but someone that you've had on as a guest, they said that there's going to be a lot of acquisitions in 2021. And that doesn't just mean grading companies. That could mean like, supplies, for example, the Ultra Pro. It can mean any type of thing related to cards. It could be a lot of acquisitions. It's vague, but very broad at the same time. What are people's thoughts on that?
Who said it? If it was on the show, it can be said. If it was said out loud.
It was in the chat, but they've been on your show before.
Oh, was it Brian Gray?
Yeah.
yeah. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I heard him say it. He said it on the show, I believe. And yeah, last time I had him on, he said it. And I believe him because he's in the discussion. So he's, he's not just speculating. He's speaking fact, I believe, or at least what he believes to be fact, because he's hearing about things that are actually happening. So I don't doubt it. But
I mean, I have something. I mean, that's factual.
Yeah, go ahead.
Beckett's already releasing supplies.
Yeah.
So Beckett's releasing card sleeves, the card savers for grading. They're doing top loads. So we've already solicited and took orders on it. I mean, definitely there's a shortage of supplies in the marketplace at this moment. I'm sure
that's the Beckett Shield line that they're doing, right? Yeah. But Carv, what do you know more about like mergers and acquisition activity in the industry?
Well, here's the thing that I always hear from people. Well, this company will never get bought out. That company will never get bought out. All I can say is that every company can be bought out. It all depends on the price, right? So that's all it is. If the price is right, you can buy Panini out. If you want to pay $2 billion or $3 billion, I'm sure they would be kind of interesting in maybe selling the company, right? The owner. So every company has a price. I'm not saying that's the price for Panini. I have no idea.
But we saw $750 million for Collector's Universe. So that's a pretty good baseline to go from there, based on pure speculation from the armchair quarterbacks like ourselves. But I mean, I think what Corey's really maybe trying to get some intelligence on, not that we have it, but is like what's the next logical target out there? Is that kind of what you're kind of wondering, Corey? Like, who could be, like, is Beckett about to be acquired? Is someone going to buy Upper Deck? Is someone going to buy Topps? Is Topps going to buy somebody? Is Ultra Pro going to be purchased? Is ComC? I think your targets are the data services, the data and the online platforms like the ComCs, the Star Stocks, the card ladders, those sorts of things. I can see them being targets of some sort of acquisition. ComC would be a great target, I'm sure, because they're like the biggest online marketplace versus outside of eBay. So why do you go after that?
The big question is really who's buying, and that's the ultimate. You'll get your answer when who's buying. If it's a small person that's worth $1 billion or $2 billion, then it's going to be a $500 to $750 million company. If it's a company that's worth $13 billion, it's probably going to go after a manufacturer, right? So It all depends who wants to get into this game. But all I can say is that, hey, whoever comes in the game, everything may change at that point. We have no idea what to expect from them now, because they're not coming in as a hobbyist. The one thing great about Nat Turner being part of the group, he's still a hobbyist, he's a collector. If someone else is a venture company that comes in, everything can change in our business. So that's what I'm fearful of, the unknown. At least right now we have a known. So that's what I would say. That's what I would add.
Yeah. We got some. I'm noticing a bunch of show and tells going on. And Charles, were you trying to say something earlier, or were you trying to grab Joe's card from him? No, okay. Yeah, Bobby's grabbing cards from all the different squares here. It's like we're the it's not the Brady, what was it, the Hollywood Squares game? Yeah.
That would make Paul in.
Yeah. So guys, we're hitting the boy, this has been going for over 3 hours. This is the new record for sports. Well, the record would be episode 7 probably, where we had people on selling cards, but this is definitely the longest discussion episode we've had. So thank you all for joining tonight, and everyone who's out there. I'm good to keep going for a little bit more, maybe 15 minutes. But Joe, are you jumping on? Or are you trying to do a high five?
No, I'm want to appreciate Carvin's points. I think that's all spot on, and I also want to acknowledge Charles had a really wonderful show with you the other weekend. I guess that was like 10 days ago? I can't tell. Time does strange things. But we are now in 2021. I just wanted to ask Charles, like, hey man, I'm not a hockey collector, but I'm like, the only thing at my target is Upper Deck Series 1. And so I've got all these young guns. And you've probably seen me kind of like putting them up here and there, and there's this and there's that. And obviously we all know about Alexei, but do you have any other ideas about young guns from 2020 that are, or 2020-21 that are possibly going to be like good players in the NHL?
First of all, thank you for the comments. Yeah, that show was really good, and I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. But I have two guys that I think are underrated, and people are going to disagree with me on both of them. But Igor Zamula for the Philadelphia Flyers, big defenseman, put up good points in the OHL. I think he's a decent all-around guy. Only thing going against him is that he went undrafted, but we signed him to a free agent deal type thing. And another guy is Michael DiPietro, goalie for Vancouver. I think that he's young, he's got a bright future, and I know that in his one, NHL game, a bit shaky, but, goalies take a long time to develop. So I think in about 2-3 years, I think he'll be solid. But the truth is, any of these guys can break out. Like we've seen it before with, Artemi Panarin and guys like that. Because people forget this, but Panarin went undrafted. He just signed with Chicago randomly and just, and he did really well. So, truth is, we don't know who's going to be the next big guy, but I can, all of us can make predictions for sure.
Velarde?
I mean,
maybe
a lot of these guys have upside. I'm not denying that, they have upside. It's all about where they are at their careers. And I know that some of the guys in this set went overseas, but the guys who are still playing in North America, well, with all the NHL teams, I think, every rookie has some upside. That's why they made it to the NHL. It's all about which one's going to rise above the others. Connor Ingram's a guy for Nashville who I think, his stats in the AHL are really good. So if he can just maintain those numbers and maybe get a call up, but I know that Nashville has good goaltending depth now that they added Casimir. I can't pronounce his name. Casimir Kasiksuo. He was a Leafs goalie, but it's all about who gets the right opportunity at the right time. But yeah, sorry, I went on long about that.
That's okay, man. I was just anytime I see a 52 Parker Scorty Howe, my eyes light up. I love that card.
I put that up because I know you like it.
You should disclose your percentage that you have to give to Charles on his advice, Joe.
Yeah. Charles, we're gonna start billing out Charles's advice at $75 an hour. Charles, we'll start you low, and we'll work you up. We'll work you up from there. Anyone else got anything else they want to chat about? We got some comments coming in from the chat, but I got to tell you guys, I'm getting tired now. So I know it's even later out east, but if anyone else has any, like I said, I'm good for another about 10 minutes. If anyone else wants to throw a topic out there, even Corey, you want to change the subject again? I invite you to.
Oh, I'm out of ideas now. It's getting pretty late here.
Did anybody mention Zeno Charo signing with Washington?
Hasn't come up yet. Oh,
Doesn't
gonna
impact
be,
the cards though, does it?
Well, it probably won't. I don't think his card was that big anyway. But just the battles against Boston.
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, his rookie card, his SP rookie, is a great card, tough to find in good shape, and that's a card that's going to be a valuable card, you know, especially with Hall of Fame knocking, which I'm got to think it will. So, but yeah, as far as the hobby goes, he's not a guy that gets really any hobby love outside of his one rookie card. There is a question from the crowd here. I just noticed it. Where did it go? Dawa Dean says, what do you guys think of Kobe cards? I mean, personally, I think Kobe cards are awesome. I wish that Paul's going to run. Where's Paul?
Kobe cards? I mean, oh my God, Kobe cards. Hell yeah.
That was old. Sorry, that was old. Kobe cards. Yes, I think Kobe cards are awesome. I wish I could afford to buy more of them. I have a rookie card, and I'm grateful that I do, but that's about it. 35, yeah, crazy what that card has done. Is just a base card PSA 10, $3,500. Oh, what's Carvin showing us? Is that an exquisite base card? That's an exquisite base card. Really nice, really nice.
I sold a PSA 10 and a PSA 9 this week, and he's going up actually. I think one sold last night for $4,000 Canadian, so it's trending upwards.
Yeah, and I just saw his Topps Chrome PSA 10 sold for almost $20,000 last night. That card was $10,000 a couple months ago. You know, it was down at 3,000 up to 15, down to 10. Now it's up to $20,000. That thing's been had a roller coaster. Corey, please.
I have an idea or something to talk about, and I've seen it come up on Flippin' Steve's channel. I might have brought it up on there, but it's always interesting to hear different perspectives on this. You see Luka Doncic's base Prism, it's like 15,000 PSA 10s out there. But if you look at the junk wax cards, there was probably still more than printed. And some of them might even have like a high pop PSA 10 count, but relatively low compared to Luka Doncic's. So whenever, for example, Shaquille O'Neal's, cards, I feel like they're undervalued. I'm not buying them right now, but I'm just saying, same with the Jaromir Jagr, even though he's trending up. There's a lot of cards from these 90s eras, late 80s, early 90s, maybe even mid 80s, that, yes, there's so many of them printed, but could they, if they were all submitted right now, everyone in existence, could they, be more PSA 10s than a Luka Doncic? I don't know about that. So I wonder if you'll ever see these cards eventually come up in value to really high prices.
Well, good topic, by the way. And I mean, I just noticed some posts yesterday about 1991-92 Upper Deck Hockey, PSA 10, Teemu Selanne's, Peter Forsberg, Nicholas Lidstrom's. Apparently, these things have started to blow up, which was news to me. And I mean, if they are blowing up like that, why is Carvin? What do you guys? You guys are distracting me. I think what are you guys talking? Are you?
No, I think the reason is I think all of us, or I don't know about Charles, but Bobby and I'm sure we have a lot of wax and a lot of singles somewhere in our basement.
Okay.
Of all those players.
Yeah. So I made the comment to that discussion. It's like, well, if there's ever been a card whose population could blow up, it's those ones. But then I realized, but wait, it was Upper Deck French that these guys were talking about, I think, and that's what kind of negated what I thought. But so I'm kind of going in circles here, maybe because I'm tired, but I think there is potential for that, Corey, because these guys are bona fide Hall of Famers that have a ton of hobby love, like Teemu Selanne, Peter Forsberg. They all have a ton of hobby love. And Dominic Hasek's another one, maybe the greatest of all time goaltender right there. Are they going to go up in value or not? I think if Tiger Woods can go from $40 to $1,800, why can't those guys? Anyone have anything to say to that?
Yeah, I think the market is it keeps going up and up and up, but there is a leveling off point, and then there's a drop for a lot of these because everyone's getting into speculating again, right? So they're going to jump into this hobby and go, oh wow, I'm going to speculate. I think Jagr, got to get 10s. So it's, and then that trend kind of goes away and it levels off. There's a lot of OPG Premier out there in high grade. There's a lot of, and you're talking probably 500 10s. at least.
Yeah, easily. Charles?
So-
oh, sorry, Bob. Finish
No,
your
finish.
thought, Bobby.
Yeah, done.
Okay. Charles?
Okay, sorry, but I just thought of this, and it just came to my head. Mike Bonanno PSA 10 OPG Premier smashed the previous sold comp. One sold for $320 on PWCC.
Wow.
Yeah, I was tracking that, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna go far, and that happened, and that to me was just, that just smashed the record. Oh, and also something too that I didn't notice, and this isn't significant, but a Ron Francis PSA 8 sold for $110 randomly. And it was a $30 card, and it just randomly sold for $110.
There are one-offs in the hobby. There are one-offs. I'm not saying
Yeah.
there are, but it does happen, especially you just get two guys that kind of anger bid, and all of a sudden they can get pretty high up there. So
Carlos was in on the Medano, no doubt.
yeah, right. Yeah.
That's only because he's American, though. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
But there are cards like in 9091. The score set is a very tough grade because the red edges. So the Lindros and the Bordura are going to be tough grades to get a PSA 10. So I think there is opportunities for the junk wax, and I think what Bobby was saying this, or it was a Colin saying that even though there's a junk wax error, those cards are really hard to grade out. Yeah, that set is just packed with rookies. Madonna's in there, right? And that's actually a tougher grade. I think the best Madonna rookie is the Upper Deck one, or is it the OPT Premier?
Premier, probably.
Premier.
But Premier grades really easy, though. It has white edges. These ones are a lot tougher. Right? So I think there's an opportunity. And obviously, there's Pablo Bure in the high number set, too. That's also.
Yeah. They're just not worth enough to grade, though, because if you don't get a 10, you just wasted all your money.
Well, that's the problem. And grading is getting more expensive, and that's why there's a premium on it. I agree with you. But, even then, people will buy raw cards to grade, so you can sell it that way, too, as well. I just like it because I have a basement full of that stuff. I also have a basement full of 96, 97, and 97, basketball. I have a ton of it. So I left in January 31st back down here and not seeing that the value of all those Kobe rookies and everything else is worth a lot. And meanwhile, I have monster boxes full of that stuff. So hopefully I have some Kobe rookies in there.
There's a lot of good rookies that year.
Yes.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to Name in Kelowna, BC, Indigenous rookie cards. Happy New Year, buddy. I just searched for the Medano OPG Premier sales, and so Charles is talking about the one that sold yesterday for $246 US, where the same day one sold for $130 US, and 2 days earlier one sold for $99 US. So the Mike and back on December 15th, one sold for 77 and then 72. So it's kind of all over the place. That's for sure.
Consistently inconsistent.
Exactly. I think this one just the other day, Charles, for the 246 US, which is your 3 whatever Canadian, is it's a PWCC auction. They do get premiums for their stuff. They just have people that only bid with them a lot of the time. Guys, we got to wrap this up. I know I'm sure a bunch of you could keep on going, but I can't.
So the one last thing I will say is that if there's an underrated card, and I talked to you about this, Jeremy, I believe it's the Crosby rookie. I think Crosby is the one card that is really underrated. This Ovechkin overtook him on every angle, and Crosby has 3 championships. The Golden Goal, won 2 gold medals, and Ovechkin only has the 1 Stanley Cup. Yes, Ovechkin, ever since they've been talking about him breaking the record, has now surpassed him. But obviously, when I was looking at the pricing back 7 years ago, Crosby was even higher than LeBron was. And now LeBron's $1 million and Crosby's a $40,000 card in Cup.
Yeah.
So I can say this now because I finally finished my transaction. I secured my Cup rookie, so I got it. So I ended up buying a Cup rookie recently.
You did. You got a Crosby Cup rookie.
Yeah, I paid a lot for it, but I got it. So now I can start doing my evangelism for Crosby rookies, and I think the young guns are way underrated. So. I have a lot of his young guns. I actually believe that he will be the guy that everyone's going to be buying up right now.
Yeah, I think Crosby. Like you said, that golden goal, that moment is critical in Canadian. I remember where I was when that goal was scored.
Well, I was at the game, so I remember completely. If anyone I had an extra ticket right behind the goal, so I actually would have given anybody a ticket had they been talking to me at that time.
I would have come with you.
It's the one thing I'll say is that a lot of people don't understand in terms of basketball, Topps Chrome, football, Topps Chrome, baseball, Bowman Chrome. Hockey, the Topps Chrome is Young Guns.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's Young Guns.
Yeah.
In fact, Young Guns odds are actually tougher than Topps Chrome. Topps Chrome, you would get a LeBron in every 2 boxes, guaranteed. Young Guns, you only get 1 in every 7 boxes. So
right.
I'll just put that out there at the end of today's.
All you need to do is compare the population too, right? Between the Crosby and whatever basketball card, whatever Topps Chrome basketball card you want to do from the same era, for sure.
Yeah.
Guys, let's go around the horn and say our good nights. And I'll thank you all for joining. It was a lot of fun, good conversation. I can't believe we've gone for 3.5 hours. It went by really fast, but
and mention your card that you're looking forward to getting this year, or whatever. As you go around, right?
A card that we want to pick up in 2021.
It's the new year, yeah. What are you looking forward to? And that's it. Go around.
All right. Well, let's start with Joe.
I'm looking forward to. I want an Opeachy Gretzky rookie card, and this has been a great experience. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Joe. Let's go to Corey.
I have more long-term goals for cards that I want, and I don't see it being accomplished in 2021. I'm looking more towards 2022, and I'd like to see a quality Gretzky by that time, but I don't see it happening this year. And the way I budgeted for my cards and to sell them, I don't see it, given turnaround times. Yeah, won't be this year, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, fair enough. I just want to when's the next show is on Saturday, 2 days from now. We've got it's really a card ladder double feature with Josh Johnson on the main show and then Chris McGill on After Hours on Saturday. So that'll be a lot of fun for everybody to tune into that. Barry, I want to thank you for this comment. That's really neat. This episode, which ends the year, is one of your best shows. Thank you, Barry, and thank you for being in the chat with us tonight, buddy. Great to have you as always. Okay, let's go to Charles.
A card that I've been looking for a while, and then I want to get one, not necessarily in the highest grade, but just really nicely centered. Alex Faulkner rookie. I mean, I've always wanted one for the PC, and I think this is the year I'm finally going to get one.
Right on. Good job. Colin, how about you?
I want to get a Gordie Howe rookie. I get them all the time, and I keep selling them, and I keep having seller's remorse. So
it's not like yeah, you will. You'll go through a couple more in 2021 probably. Yeah. Maybe this time you'll keep one. Bobby, what are you looking for this year? Any items that have eluded you, and not necessarily a card, of course?
No, it can be a card because I do still have cards, as you well know. I think I would be looking for Gilmore 10.
Doug Gilmore, nice selection. How about you, Carvin?
He's undervalued.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask Charles exactly why Alex Faulkner? Because he's from Newfoundland? That's the only reason why his card is worth a lot. Really.
Yeah, just because of that. And I think that it plays a part in, it's kind of like the more attainable Burt Corbeau in a way. I mean, you see them, but a lot of people don't really know about like the whole story behind Alex Faulkner, but like a lot of the vintage guys do. But I don't know. It's just a cool card to me. It's the first Newfoundland player to play in the NHL. I think it's a great historical piece, so that's why I want it nicely centered. And yeah, it's just really cool.
Bobby,
they made chocolate bars with Alex Faulkner on it. I've had 2 wrappers, and there's 2 known.
Awesome.
That's your scary rare stuff.
Anyways,
yeah.
Carvin, what about you, Carv?
Is that Mr. Big chocolate bar?
No, it was a Patterson chocolate.
Okay. Here's my card. I'm actually starting. You saw the Federer card I have. I actually have another card I just recently acquired by the name of Alex Honnold. Look him up. He's the guy in Free Solo in the documentary. I consider him the goats of all goats, to be honest, because if you make a mistake, he dies. So he's a free climber. He climbed El Capitan. I bought that one. But the next goat I'm chasing now is actually from F1. His name is Lewis Hamilton. So he is going to win probably next year his 10th F1 title. I've been a huge F1 fan since I was about, I think, 11 or 12 when Joe Villeneuve was the driver for Ferrari back in Canada. And Jacques Villeneuve won the F1 title. His son back, I believe, in '98. So I've been a historian about that, and I'm a huge Ayrton Senna fan. But Lewis Hamilton, yeah, he's the GOAT of F1 racing. So when the card comes out, there's a Dynasty, a hard sign patch auto that's going to be coming out in Dynasty Racing probably fairly soon, and he'll be in F1 Chrome too. So if you want to look at some of his numbers, his Tops Now card was released about 3 months ago, had a population of 2,900. It's already trading at $300 now.
Crazy.
So just some goats that, there's, like I said, we are lucky to be in this time of all these different goats in different sports. And definitely look up Alex Honnold. He's an amazing story when you watch that movie, Free Solo.
Yeah, another GOAT that hasn't been mentioned tonight is Tony Hawk from the, obviously, well, everyone knows that Tony Hawk is a skateboarder. There's Joe likes that. There's probably a surfer out there too, right, Joe, that we should all be collecting. Remember, there was a beach volleyball player whose card I recently was looking, Karch Karai. Anyone heard of Karch Karai?
Yeah. 1984 Olympics.
Yeah, that's right. He was. I remember watching him play beach volleyball in the Olympics. Oh, that was fun to watch. He was amazing.
So Tony Hawk is from Carlsbad. I don't know if you know that.
I do, because I have his rookie card, because I believe it's an under the radar card.
Which card do you have as the rookie card? The Allen Ginter?
No, his SI for kids, 19. Okay. What year is it? 91 SI for kids. Yeah.
Kelly Slater, surfing.
Kelly Slater, that's the one. That's right. Yeah. The Tony Hawk. If my answer to the question in terms of card, I would pick a card. There's not a lot that I'm after anymore. There's a whole bunch of Michael Jordan 90s inserts I love, but I'm priced out of all of them. They're just $50,000 and up is a little bit high. But the card that's still on my want list that has been there for a long time is a Willie Mays rookie, a 51 Bowman Willie Mays rookie. That's probably the number one on my list right now that I can think. Yeah, that's probably number one on my list.
Pricey,
getting pricier for sure.
Because you already got a PMG Gretzky?
I got a PMG Green Gretzky. I do. I guess what's really on my list for 2021 is whatever's coming out of Skybox Metal Universe, because I'm very excited for that product. I'm going to collect a lot of it. So, although I don't think I'm alone. So, Charles, you go.
I have another item. If you're on my Instagram, you'd see this. But
okay, one sec. Okay, Carv, we'll do you. Then we'll do Charles, and then we're going to say goodnight, guys.
Go to someone else first. Let me see if I can find it here first. I got to find it.
Okay, Charles, you go. Jump on, Charles.
Okay, one card that I really want too that is impossible to find. Vladislav Tretiak Panini sticker rookie.
Yeah.
That to me is a card that I don't know why I like it. I think Vladislav Tretiak's one of the biggest what ifs in history. But to find that card, man, I've been looking for it for like a couple months now. It's just impossible.
Wasn't his rookie? I guess we have a issue with his rookie card, Tretiak's, because isn't that the finish or another set? I forget the name of the set. Was issued way back then. I can't remember. But I think PSA's having a hard time determining which is his rookie card. In general, we have a tough time with rookies as it is, especially nowadays, right?
Yeah, when you're looking back to all these old products that came from overseas, even, right?
Well, yeah. When did the rookie card status even come in?
Yeah,
pre-1990.
Yeah, that's a whole other show.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Okay,
he
guys.
was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. Drafted him.
Oh, Corey. Yes, I see your comment. The Bure Young Gun. What's going on with that? Yeah, that card should get love. The Bure Young Gun, the Fedorov. I thought those were great cards. Okay, guys, we got to kill. We can keep on going for hours, I think, but I want to thank Chris in the chat for reminding me to look for a French card. I did find a French card in my box, the Mark Stahl. Unfortunately, maybe the worst card in the whole set, but thanks for letting me know about that, Chris. And guys, we're gonna sign off. All right, we're gonna sign off.
Okay, guys.
Almost breakfast.
All right, everybody.
Thanks where you are. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys. Yeah. Well, you can all see your Happy New Year, everybody. I'll let you see yourselves out. And to everyone in the chat and watching, thank you so much. If you are listening to this on podcast in the next few days, thank you for listening. And we will be back on Saturday, 2 days from now, with both Josh Johnson on the main show and with Chris McGill on After Hours, both of Card Ladder. So it's a Card Ladder double feature coming up on Saturday, January the 2nd. All right, guys.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Peace.